recording of this meeting. And welcome, everybody. And let me look at the agenda, and then I'm going to share the agenda.
Bless you, Gibson.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Ms. Spears. I appreciate that.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen with the agenda. And as you know, the first order of the business is to call the meeting to order and approval of the agenda. I received an email from Rahim saying that item 5E, the brand presentation, would be withdrawn and thus needs tabling at the top of this meeting. Is there anything else on the agenda as I'm scrolling it down that needs any action?
Yes, so if the brand presentation is going to be withdrawn, then we would move member spotlight number 3 between B and C, goals of the retreat, and UNNC year in review.
I'm sorry, what are we doing here?
Because instead of having
No,
a
I'm
member
not
spotlight,
objecting. I didn't understand.
so H goes between A and B and C. Now, letter H goes between B and C.
Okay.
Sorry, let me see, is that right?
Well, it won't stay letter H. It will become a different letter because this is auto format. But what you're basically saying is spotlight number 3, which would now be number 1, but you want it.
Yeah, we just need to move one of the
no, I
spotlights
understand.
between B and C.
So you want it, you're watching what I'm doing, right? You want it there, essentially. It becomes C.
Madam President, I have a question.
Can you
Yes.
delete F though, so we can see?
Yes. And then I have to, well, no, see, that doesn't work either.
Okay. Do we have to be that specific? We just need one member spotlight between B and
Okay, well, now that I have done what I just did, if you can see it on the screen, and I know the numbers are out of order, now would you like member spotlight 2 between bylaws and Robert's rules?
Yeah, that's fine.
What you're trying to say, I think, is that you would want one spotlight between one talking head session and presentation.
No, that's right, Laura. I just don't think it should take this long. So however you see it's going to accomplish that, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
And more.
Here, I'm just doing it. I think I'm doing it. No. Oh. Okay, is that good?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the branding spotlight, could we still receive a briefing on the data?
We have not, Greg, they did not provide that. It's not in the advanced agenda packet. So we can't. I'm sorry, for those who are new, this is sort of a lesson in virtual governance or real governance that, you know, once the withdrawal took place, there was no reason to receive anything and upload it to our advanced agenda packet. So it's not there. Thus, I don't, you know, they withdrew it. So Greg, Greg, is your hand still up? Or, I mean, did you want to continue?
Yeah, I think I was finished asking my question. So
Paula has a question.
yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
And then Paula, your hand is up.
I have a request to member spotlights to 1, 2, 3, 4.
You mean, are you saying make the numbers correct?
Yes.
Okay, I'm doing that now. I was just trying to get them where you want them. Now, oh, that's still.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So are we?
You're
all
awesome.
Can I move to approve the agenda so we can get started?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve the agenda. The motion
Second.
is, I'm not moving. Nancy moved, but to approve the agenda as amended.
Yes, as
Greg
amended,
seconded.
exactly.
And it's been moved and seconded. I think we can, well, first I'm going to stop the share. I think we can do this by
Voice vote. Voice vote.
one at a time, or you mean
Voice
acclamation?
vote.
Voice vote.
Affirmation.
Voice vote.
Voice vote. Voice vote.
Approve.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
called the Saturday morning rule.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have a combination of
approve.
raised hands, real hands, virtual hands, and voices. And is there any objection, more to the point?
I object because the agenda should not be amended during the meeting. You can just skip over
Yes,
the
and we
agenda.
are unable to do the branding presentation because we don't have it.
That's fine. You can just skip over it, but you can't amend the agenda because you already publicly posted. We could just move on to the next agenda item.
Yes, please.
So it just becomes a matter of the because stakeholders know one thing on the agenda and then we're changing it during the meeting. It becomes a Brown Act issue.
So then why do we have to even
Let's move
approve the
on.
agenda?
We could just
Yeah.
keep, we could just keep the original agenda and keep it pushing. There's no
Let's
need.
move it. Move it on.
Let's
All
move
right.
on. Let's move on.
Fine.
Okay, I think I see a hand from, no, I don't. So Nancy and Lizzie are not making comments at this point. And I'm sorry, so we're just, when we get there, we're tabling at that moment, Gibson, is that the?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that also mean we can't reorder the member presentations?
I mean, you can reorder them, but just the way the agenda is.
You
already
can't
submitted
delete
and
it.
posted.
Got it.
Don't delete it. Just you can move up and down on agenda items. Just don't delete the item.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great.
Appreciate this. So the next item is just 3 minutes late, a simple meetings protocol reminder. And so part of that reminder is that the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners resolution on civility is posted in our advance agenda packet as we do every month. So I am hoping that everyone continuously reminds themselves of that. For our Zoom meetings, our protocols are, and while this is a retreat, maybe there's more discussion. We ask that you raise your hand to be called upon. And if you are new to Zoom, on your black screen, if you would take your cursor down to the bottom where it says participants and click on that, and you'll pull up a sort of vertical screen that lists all the people in the meeting. But at the bottom of it, it also will demonstrate to you how to raise your hand. It says raise hand. In terms of chat, we do not use chat for anything except if you need to chat with the host saying, I'm having trouble raising my hand, I would like to speak. Or I don't think we'll be doing this, but for motions, we post the chat so everybody sees what we're doing. But what we cannot do, it violates the Brown Act, is chat with each other, or for that matter, please don't chat with the host saying, I have a question, here it is. What do you think the answer is? Just raise your hand and ask the question. Don't ask the host the question, raise your hand to ask the question. If you're also still having trouble raising your actual blue hand, you can click on the reactions thing and that sort of lets us know, or say, I have a question. And then we are all polite to each other. Nobody's disrespectful. Please do not interrupt anybody. You have the ability to unmute and mute yourselves. Please mute yourself at most times just because there's background noise sometimes. And unmute yourself if you're going to speak so it doesn't have time delays. And please, again, do not interrupt anyone. And that would be the protocols. Any questions? Because I know we have some new people. Okay. And then the next item, Gibson, this is you, is the installation of newly elected UNNC governing board members.
Fantastic. So good morning, everybody. Once again, for new board members, my name is Gibson Yambura. I am your neighborhood empowerment advocate with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I am also the department's racial equity officer, as you can see, my blue background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with everybody. Laura, can you let me share a screen so I can just put the neighborhood council?
I'm sorry, are you asking everyone to unmute? I missed that.
No, can you let me share the screen so I can
Oh,
put the
yes,
Neighborhood Council?
absolutely. I'm
And
sorry,
then we'll go
because
from
I
there.
missed that too. So here you go. You're
Good, folks. Let's do this. Does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. So board members, unmute yourself. If everybody would want to.
And Gibson, you had mentioned something to me yesterday that even the continuing board members do need to do this. Are you trying to?
We're sitting the new completely, we're sitting the whole board.
The whole board. So
yes.
all of us who are continuing, we're in year 3 of a 4-year term. We still also need to do this. Thank you.
Let's do it in unison. So it's just awesome for everybody.
It's gonna
Okay.
sound great
Okay.
on the recording.
It's going to be fantastic. So everybody repeat after me. I pledge to represent my
Represent my
neighborhood.
neighborhood with
Neighborhood,
dignity,
dignity,
integrity,
integrity,
pride,
pride.
and will
Pride,
encourage
other points of view,
even when they differ from my own.
Okay, guys, I think he was going to.
Everyone's opinion.
Find the good in my neighborhood.
Good in my neighborhood.
My
With
neighborhood.
neighbors.
Promote it.
Neighbors
Neighbors.
throughout the city of Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
To the best of my ability.
Best of my ability.
To the best of my
Started off
ability.
by not following instructions. He said, repeat after me.
You ran with it.
Hey, Gibson, does that work for you?
I'm okay with it because this means everybody is up on a Saturday morning. So we are making the best of it.
Congratulations, everybody.
Welcome to the board.
Congratulations. All in one.
And if any board member has not received an welcome to the Neighborhood Council System required training email from the department, please let me know. There's 1 or 2 folks I'm going to be bugging you guys to get your trainings in order because I want to make sure that we get the ball rolling. So after this new board is seated, it usually is required within 30 days to complete all your trainings. So I will be pestering everybody. So if you have, and with returning board members, some folks have not used the platform that we use, the Cornerstone system. It works magically at times and at times it's horrendous, but just bear with me. So it's going to be a combination of technology. When technology fails you, it fails you spectacular. But when it succeeds well. So, and with that being said, I will be bothering some of you folks just to make sure everybody has their trainings because we are in the process of also realigning some of our Neighborhood Council policies, making sure that everybody is trained so we don't fall by the wayside. It's something that we require that all Neighborhood Council board members have the 3 trainings, which is the ethics training, also the funding training and your code of conduct. And so for stakeholders and also just board members, just note that our website is empowerla.org. I'm just going to pull up the webpage real quick. So this is for your Neighborhood Council. It has all the information, right? The meeting time, the address, the meeting address, the mailing address, the meeting address. Once the board decides who the executive officers are, the update will be sort of posted here. So if you see your name here, just know this is where your trainings are. And so all this information is public. So that's why we also, a couple of things, that's why we always reiterate that all board members have public emails because it's part of the system. We ask that everybody has a public email that's just dedicated to Neighborhood Council business. That's why everybody has a dedicated email because stakeholders can see your email. We put it in there so if folks can reach out to everybody. And also it has the boundary for this board, the bylaws. We try also the election results. So this website will be, as we are working on a new website, we also have all the information for election results in this this year. Does anybody have any questions for me? Miss Spears, I see Miss Spears with her hand up first. I'm gonna go there.
How often is that the credential thing updated?
We try to do it a couple of times a week. It's not automatic, so it's a little. The system in the back end is a little manual, so we usually do it up to 2 times a week.
Okay.
Okay, I
Yes.
see several other hands. Nancy, then Greg.
Yes, Nancy.
Gibson, I just wanted to ask whether there were any best practices with respect to the spam email that we've been receiving. I know that our new members are probably going to start receiving those. They've become more frequent, I think, over the last year.
Yes, so they've been, what I usually ask is, if you receive spam emails, just forward it to me and the president, so we can keep track, we try to keep track of it with the department, with the Department of Information Technology. It's something that we're trying to figure out the best way is, but if you receive any fishy email, just know, there'll be one of the fishy emails is usually funding. Hey, can you ask the board member to fund $100? Please don't ever send any money, any funding matters always has to come to the board. It's happened a couple of times where the spam emails are like, hey, the treasurer said you should send me $200. Please, one thing about the NC system is you're never supposed to use your money. Please, if your person, we use taxpayer dollars for community events. That's the whole point of every neighborhood council having a budget. But just keep me in the loop. So whenever you get anything that you're not sure, send me an email. And so my email is gibson.nyambura@lacity.org. And then there's not, Ms. Cruz, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not a clean system just yet. We're still trying to figure that out.
Okay, Greg has
Greg?
his hand up.
So Gibson, I just wanted to assure that even though some of our new members haven't completed the training, that they still can vote on electing officers
Yes,
today. Is that
they can.
correct? Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, Greg, why would you ask? Our standing rules say they may not vote if they haven't done the training on anything. So, it's not well, Nancy, you're the one who's knee deep. What? I mean, I don't think we can say yes, but no, no, but yes. I'm not trying to force people not to vote, but we actually have rules that say they cannot if they haven't taken the test.
Then what we should do is review what's in the text.
Correct.
Because my reading of it is that when they're newly appointed, they have that 30 days to complete their training. And
that,
wait a minute, let me finish, please.
mhm.
So when they're newly appointed, they have that 30 days to complete their training. And if our meeting was held this is a theoretical statement, but if our meeting was held on the first day, let's say the first of the month, and they just were elected on the 30th, then they didn't have time to complete the training. So they still have that grace period. That's why I'm asking specifically about voting on the appointment of the officers, because they have that grace period of them being appointed to the board. And I asked the question because I thought that might be a concern. So my reading of that is different than what you shared with me, and I sent what I thought my understanding of it was. So my statement, my position will be, my understanding is that all new members have the ability to vote on the appointment of the officers. They cannot vote on any funding issues. That is correct, because they need to complete the funding training and the ethics training.
Okay.
But the topic of voting on officers, that's just setting up the bricks of the house. And they should have a voice in that. So that's why I would bring that up.
I'm raising my hand. Before I post this, I'm about to post what the standing rules actually say for UNNC. So Dunn's policy is what you just said, Greg, but our standing rules
No,
say,
he's not saying Dunn's policy. He's saying there's a conflict in the bylaws when you read them together.
yes, and then we have standing rules that say what I just put. I don't know. I mean, we might be having a discussion that doesn't have a formal impact. I don't know. And you're saying, because Greg is focused on officers, but I'm just pointing out that what it doesn't say in the bylaws or the standing rules what they can't vote on. It says if you haven't done all your trainings, you can't vote. So I mean, it says so I don't know that I don't know I know what's efficient and what also seems ethical. It seems ethical to let everyone vote for officers. It does. We also had these discussions for some, May and June about making sure everyone who's new had the opportunity to be trained. And this was the reason. So, but I'm not going to personally vote on whether we can vote. Teresa has her hand up, and then Nancy.
I'd like to make 2 points. I know that Nancy is revisiting and helping the board redo our standing rules, so she would have an idea if there is a conflict. But if we do not think that there is going to be a conflict with the board the way it is, then let us just move on. Let us just take a vote. If a conflict comes up, then we can come back and review these and determine if
No.
okay, so you're saying that you want it resolved now, Dolores?
Yes, because we're
Okay.
going to have a vote that's coming up on the election of officers. And so now it has to be decided on whether everyone can vote on the officers or not. If we
Okay.
can't, then I think it's a disservice to a lot of them, because just like
Okay.
me, I
Okay.
only just got the note, my login the day before yesterday. So
But you're already a member, Dolores. Nancy,
Yeah.
can you please explain, can you please tell us exactly how not the Empower LA, but how the UNNC rules, what they say about appointing officers for new board members?
Yeah, so it doesn't go into specifics as to how to appoint officers, but just 2 points. One, I think in practice, we've always allowed members, so long as they've taken ethics, to vote. So that's what we've done in practice. I think there's just conflicts in these bylaws and standing rules where there's one sentence where it states, all governing board members must take ethics and funding to make funding decisions. And then there's another section where it says a board member who doesn't complete ethics, funding, and all of their requirements are not eligible to vote. So that's where there's a conflict, right? One sentence says you're not eligible to vote. Another one says, hey, if you don't have ethics and funding, you're not eligible to vote for funding requests.
Dolores, did you still need to have your hand up? Did you want to continue?
I would like for Gibson to weigh in on the rules.
Yes.
So a couple of things. So for new board members to feel comfortable, as everybody just get acquainted with UNNC, is the standing rules are posted on the website, right?
Yes.
Would you, Laura, would you mind just showing the board where those standing rules are, so if folks always want to just know? I like to sort of start there, so everybody feels comfortable with your website. In my experience, I think what the recommendation I'll provide here is, because we're seating a new board, this board can go ahead and take action and appoint the election of officers. Because the mandate is usually required to complete your training within 30 days. But because this board wants to elect officers, I think they should just go ahead and do so with not too much restriction.
Nancy,
that would be my recommendation.
Yeah. Can I just ask, Nancy, because you were the person, you were asked at executive committee, but I don't think we heard an answer, but you were the person who asked sent out an email asking people who would be running for office. Is there a competitive election, or are we looking at acclamation? If you know.
I have no idea, Laura. I don't
Got
think
it.
we're going to know until we get there.
Yeah, it's not the.
Okay, so you see, I'm like the thinker. Nancy, also your hands up. Did you have more to say before I exercise my the thinker? Okay, Raheem, and then Dolores again.
I'm just confused as to what the issue is. If Gibson is saying we should let everybody vote and our standing rules are conflicting, and the Dunn rules say that new board members should vote, then I don't understand why there's even still a question.
Okay, well, all right. If we go with what's posted on the Dunn website today, which also may be inaccurate, 8 board members are ineligible to vote. If we go just with the public record right now, I don't think that public record is accurate. Also, I think it's really only a few people, and so there's a problem there, and there's a problem if 8 people technically are not able to vote. based on our standing rules, then that's not, and if we have a competitive election, then it does seem like we're electing officers with too few votes. On the other hand, if we say, well, your self-acclamation, you really did do your training and we trust you. And also because Dunn says there's a 30-day grace period. So, but how do we even vote on that if we don't know?
Well, I think what we do, as Gibson said, everybody votes. If Dunn wants to do some digging into records of who's eligible to vote or not after the fact, then we cross that bridge when we get, there's so many ifs that, like, why are we debating all these ifs if they may not ever come to pass?
Right.
Go forward.
We're spending an awful lot of time on this. So what I see, Greg, I know you're waving your hand, but I've got Teresa, then Greg, but I had called on Dolores before either of you.
Okay. The email that I sent to you with regards to the installation of officers, as well as the election of board members and the election of officers, went back to 2012. I checked on the agendas for 3 elections in 2012. I think it was 2014 and 2018. And all of them, in all of those agendas, we had the installation of officers of board members, and then the election of officers right after that. So new incoming board members, whether they had taken all of those tests, those certifications or not, were allowed to vote on the election of officers. So I don't understand why now it's an issue.
Because Dunn has cracked down on training is one issue. And because I wasn't on the executive committee, Dolores, at any of those times. So I just don't know. I mean, do you know what I mean? We're dealing with a lot of new people. So how we've been operating is by reading what our stuff says. Remember, I became president quite by accident. So I've just been going with our documents to help govern what we do. And I also remind you that in 2018, we in fact did not actually have our election in July. We actually had election of officers in August, that particular year.
It was the first month after the election.
No, it was because, if you recall, we didn't have anyone who wished to be president. So we deferred in the hopes we could get a president. And so Jeff retained the presidency for an additional month.
Well, I think we should go, I agree with Raheem. I think we should go with what Gibson has said, to go ahead and let everybody vote and then let Dunn deal with it afterwards. I think it's a service to everybody else if we don't.
I apologize for interrupting, Ms. Spears. One thing I mentioned is for new board members, it's within 30 days. So now this board is seated. There's a good number of folks who've completed the trainings. So, and there's some folks who did it, but it's not reflected on the website. But yeah, everybody, just the 30 days is what's required. So I'm going to be chasing everybody to get their stuff done.
All right.
Greg, then Paula, and then I think we do need to move on.
It may not be appropriate to make a motion, but I would like for us to move forward with the recommendation of Gibson.
I think, okay.
That's my statement.
This is not on the agenda, so it is inappropriate to make. I'm sorry. See, you guys are making me just, I'm trying not to be pissy-wissy. When we get to that item, I think is when we would make that motion. Because it's the only thing that we'd be voting on, if you don't mind.
What started this was just me asking the question of Gibson for clarification.
I understand, but we haven't opened that portion of the meeting. We're up in the installation, so it's not, okay. I know that one of the things we're electing is a parliamentarian come later today. And so we don't have somebody who could tell us what we should be doing. So I hear the consensus is that everyone gets to vote. So I don't even know if we need a motion. So when we get to that agenda item, can we just confirm the consensus and move on?
Yes.
Thank you. And
Please.
Paula, did you still have something to say about that?
Move on.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Great. Greg, is your hand up again or still? Greg,
His hand's not up. His
Well,
hand's,
I-
okay,
I can
Greg.
remove his hand. Okay. Thank you. So sorry. I
Yep.
can't remove his hand. So, whoa. We
Okay, let's
haven't
just move
even
to
hit,
public
you guys,
comments.
can I point out that we are 32 minutes into this, and at 9:15 to 9:20, we were to have public comment. So we're at
Lori,
public.
Let Nancy handle it. Nancy has the agenda.
Go
okay, I
ahead.
think we're now open for public comment. Does anyone have public comment?
Okay, so public comments on any, this is general public comments on anything not on this agenda. So anyone who has a public comment on any matter that is not on this agenda, please. Raheem.
I just welcome all the new board members to the board. I just want to say that this last half hour, I hope, is not a reflection of what the board will be going forward. I think that I just want to, I can only imagine if you're a new board member, this is your first introduction to the board. This might have been a little bit jarring. I just wanted to give you everybody a nice warm welcome. I think we need to shift the energy of this retreat. This retreat is supposed to be bringing us together and kind of introducing us to each other. I think that first half hour was not the greatest introduction to this board. And so I just encourage all of us to kind of take some deep breaths, reset the energy of this retreat, and move forward from how this all started out. But welcome new board members, welcome visitors, everybody. Good morning. That's it.
Thank you. Denise.
Yes, good morning, everybody, and thank you, Laura, for calling on me. I'm Denise Jackson. I am a board member of the Arlington Heights Neighborhood Association. We work here in Arlington Heights for the betterment of the people in our neighborhood here. Also, ex-board member and president of UNNC, for those who don't know. But I'm joining in today, Laura, not only for your retreat, but also just to mention that we here in the Arlington Heights neighborhood have been in touch with Mark Ridley Thomas's office on various occasions about the trash cans along Washington Boulevard, about our park here and the Pocket Park here. And we just hope that once the board is seated this year going forward, that we can get your support in working with us and hopefully having a meeting with our council member, Mark Ridley Thomas, and his deputies, so that we can, well, one, we haven't welcomed him here into the community that I know of. He hasn't had, or I haven't been able to attend a town hall that he might have had. So just hoping to get UNNC support along with the Arlington Heights Neighborhood Association on that matter. As well as I understand the Gramercy Park Apartments is having a grand opening on August 30th as well, in which Mark Ridley Thomas will be in attendance. So hopefully we can get on his calendar. Since he can do that, he can certainly meet with his constituents and talk about things going forward. That's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosie.
Good morning. My name is Rosie Brown. I am a former UNNC board member and also chair of a few committees. I am welcoming board this morning. And just for those who may not know about one of the issues that we really have in our neighborhoods, and that is illegal dumping or people just putting items out in front of their homes or alleys and just leaving it there. Not building and safety, but there is a division in the city that will give you some flyers that you can send out or give out to your neighbors. And UNNC does have some that we had printed out also. So that's another good tool to be using in your neighborhoods to let people know that they can call, whether it's in front of their home or somewhere else, and get those items picked up. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I have a public comment and it's not a UNNC matter so much as a community matter. Most of you know that the architect Paul Revere Williams, who not only designed many buildings around town, but here the first African-American architect member of the AIA. When he was already very well known, 1937, he wrote, "Today I sketched the preliminary plans for a large country house, which will be erected in one of the most beautiful residential districts in the world. Sometimes I have dreamed of living there. I could afford such a home, but this evening I returned to my own small, inexpensive home in a comparatively undesirable section of Los Angeles. Dreams cannot alter facts. I know I must always live in that locality or another like that because I am a Negro." Well, that home was located at 1271, or is located at 1271 West 35th Street. That is not within our neighborhood council, it's just east in North Area Neighborhood Council. It is threatened with demolition, and NANDC will have it on its policy agenda on Tuesday. If anybody is interested in attending that meeting, I don't have the Zoom links, if you'll email me, I can forward it to you. The Los Angeles Conservancy apparently is preparing a historic cultural monument nomination, and it sounds like there's a great deal of community support for saving and retaining the house. And we can't comment on it because this is not on our agenda. So I'll just say, if you're interested in that, please email me.
Laura, can you type the address in the chat, please?
Yes, that I can do. But I can't, I don't have the Zoom meeting.
Are you done?
Dolores has her hand up.
Okay. Mothers in Action is having a back to school health fair on August the 7th from 8 a.m. to 12 noon at Exposition Park, 3998 Hoover Street. It's a drive-through. Pre-registration is required, and they're giving away fully loaded backpacks for the kids. And I can, Laura, you can put it in the chat if anybody's interested.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Mothers
in Action.
And the date?
August the 7th from 8 to 12 in Exposition Park. A backpack giveaway.
Yeah. And I am assuming whoever is doing our communications, which we know who that is, Raheem, we could also get word out.
You need the telephone number and
sure.
Email. Telephone number is 323-290-0456 or email at mothersinactioninc@aol.com.
Okay, so just for everyone who's, again, new at Zoom, at the end of the meeting, before I kill the meeting, right, before I turn it off, when you look at chat, you'll see to the right 3 little dots. And again, with your cursor, if you click on the dots, you can save the chat and it will download as a text file to your computer. And if you goof and miss that, it will have also downloaded to my computer. So everything we're typing in today will download. Rosie, and then we must move on because I think we fired at 5 minutes.
The West Adams Admins Association is having their annual Big Sunday weekend cleanup with their 4 dumpsters on 7th Avenue between addresses 2400 and 2500 on July 31st to August 1st from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So they'll have a really big dumpster. Donna Jones, 213-705-3336. She does have a flyer that I can send, or you can contact her to put on your website. Thank you.
Well, it's 4 dumpsters and breakfast on Saturday and
Right.
maybe lunch.
Right, continental breakfast, 8 to 9:30 on Saturday, and lunch 1 to 2:30 on Saturday.
Rosie, if you want to
Hey,
send me that
Donna's
flyer,
phone
we can
number.
get it up.
Yeah, could you say Donna's phone number one more time, please?
It's 213-705-3336. And the web is West
Yeah, I
at
got the rest.
j@gmail.com.
Well, do we know that Donna wants, I can do it.
Well, it's on the website. I mean, it's on the flyer.
Okay, then she does.
Information on the flyer. Okay, thank you. Sure,
Okay.
Raheem.
And we have definitely expired the 5 minutes of public comment. So seeing no other hands. I now turn the gavel to Nancy, who's the chair of the retreat committee. Nancy, however, you're muted.
Okay, hi everyone, welcome. I think the first order of business is, I think you'll see, I added my name and then the neighborhood where I live. We're gonna ask all of you if you could please go ahead and do that. Just add your neighborhood next to your name. If I do have instructions on how to do that. Laura, can you make me a host as I'll be sharing a number of documents? And yes, so you go to participants, then you click your name, you click more, and then you go to rename. And so you add there your neighborhood. I can share, create instructions here.
That's okay. That was plain.
That was playing? Okay, great.
And if
So
for those of you who are on the phone, we could probably, if there's anybody just on the phone, we could probably do this for you. I'll scroll through, Nancy, go ahead.
Okay, great. So we want to welcome you to our UNNC retreat. Raheem, Paula, and I are part of the retreat committee, and we're very excited to welcome you. Our goal really for this retreat was to build some community and to get to know one another, especially during the virtual environment. We understand that we're going to continue to operate virtually for the foreseeable future. And so it really limits our interactions. We only interact with each other during the meetings. So we really wanted to emphasize this time as a way to get to know one another. In addition to that, we have to do some business. We installed the new members and we're going to elect the new office. We're also planning to do a short presentation on our accomplishments over the last year. We've accomplished a lot, I think, in the last year, despite COVID, but we're really just going to highlight a few things so that you all, especially the new members, get an idea as to what types of projects we fund and the types of work that we do. Paula, Raheem, do you want to say a couple words before I move on?
Nope.
No? Okay. So the first item is going to be Lizzie. We asked Lizzie to do a presentation on our year in review, what we've done this last fiscal year. So Lizzie, I think you'll need to be made a co-host, and
yes.
I'll hand over the microphone to you.
Nancy, I thought you put the member spotlight there before.
Hang on, let me take a peek.
Oh, right. That's true. You are right.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we were asked to shuffle to member spotlight.
Okay, that's
so
fine. So we can go ahead.
I know. I need to make Raheem a co-host. Raheem, can you raise your blue hand because I can't find you in the list? So you'll move to the top if you raise your hand. Thank you.
Okay, so then we'll do the
are.
first member spotlight. So that's going to be Dorit, Chris Carlson. I don't see Chris, but Taylor, Denise, and John. So our member spotlight is really an opportunity for everyone to get to know you. So we're going to do an icebreaker. So Paul, I think you're the moderator for this one. So you want to?
Yes, and Raheem, welcome all of you, and thank you for attending the retreat. Raheem came up with a way to scram a random number generator, and our questions, we have you number 120. Dorit, you're going to be the first one. And what is her number, Raheem? It's number 18. So Dorit, how many languages do you speak and what are they?
I speak English.
Please unmute yourself.
I speak English, or American English, as my mom used to like to call it. And I can speak some Gaelic, which is the Irish language.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Thank you.
And Chris, you say Chris is not here?
Yes, I don't see her, so we can skip.
Okay, so we're moving on to Taylor. What is Taylor? Taylor's number is 16. If you were ruler of a country, what would be your first law? Taylor, mute yourself.
Yeah, my first law, I think it would probably depend on the laws that were already in place in that country. So I'm not sure.
What is your passion? We're trying to get to know a little about you.
Yeah, so my passion, I think, as a lot of you know, is like public transportation and mobility. So if I were the ruler of the United States, I would probably do something like that Joe Biden's trying to do and fund trains in the US.
Right.
Get that high-speed rail going.
Thank you. Okay, we have Dennis. Nancy, you said Denise, but we haven't heard
Dennis.
Is Dennis here?
Huh? And is Dennis here?
Yes, Dennis is here.
Oh, there you are, Dennis Lesky. Hi there. Okay, Dennis, your question is number 3. What is your proudest accomplishment?
It's my children, both my children.
Amen.
They're independent, they're happy, they have families of their own, and they're going to take care of me someday.
Yeah. And for a second, we have John. What's John's number, Ryan? John Arnold, are you there?
I am.
And your question is, what is one thing we'll never do again?
First of all, these are my Achilles heel answering questions like this because I can't think of anything. It's what will I never do again? Gosh, probably not move so far away from my family back east, which means I would never have been here. But youthful decision and something probably not paying off at this point.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you. That includes Spotlight number 1, and we're going to turn it back over to Nancy. And
Paula,
Nancy,
I think Chris.
Yeah, no,
Chris
I
is here
just
now?
spoke, guys, raising my own hand. I just spoke to Chris. There was an accident involving a child at her house, but anyway, she'll be here later. So if you wanted to bring someone else forward now and put her in a later group.
Okay, that works. So I'll bring Hugh. Hugh?
Okay, so that's Hugh's number, Raheem? No, we need to do another scramble. Okay, Hugh, your question is, how would you describe yourself? Oh, that's wonderful. Unmute.
Thoughtful. Did you hear me?
Okay, that's it?
That's it.
Okay. Thoughtful, short and sweet. All right, thank you all. Nancy, it's back in your hands.
Okay, great. So the next item is going to do our UNNC year in review, which is going to be presented by Lizzie. So Lizzie, I'll hand over the mic, and I think Laura, if you could make Lizzie a co-host. So
I did do
her presentation. Okay, great. Go ahead, Lizzie.
But Raheem has his hand up, so I don't know if that's on purpose.
No, that was from earlier
Okay.
when you asked me to raise my hand.
Thank you.
Right. Great. Thank you. I was given 5 minutes, but I will try to power through in maybe 7 or 8. So good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Moramisato. I've been on the board for about 5 to 6 years. and delighted to welcome our new board members today. In this presentation, I will focus on this year's UNNC accomplishments. In a year that presented itself with insurmountable challenges and tragic losses in our community, the UNNC rose up to the occasion and was able to go far and beyond in fulfilling its duties, as reflected in our mission statement. Our first achievement, an unexpected one, was to transition smoothly to a virtual meeting setting. Even though we could not gather in person, an advantage of the virtual setting was that we could easily meet and share information through the use of technology. The UNNC is entrusted with a yearly budget. This year, we were able to use some of the funds in emergency spending, by which we were able to contribute to food distribution among our neighbors in need through our partnership with World Harvest Food Bank and also with our presence at the MLK Day of Service. We provided masks for our house neighbors. In what we call the Year of the Tree, we secured the planting, watering, and maintenance of trees alongside some of our main corridors within the UNNC footprint, a beautification project that will certainly attract more businesses coming to our area and improve the quality of life among our residents. We funded not one, but two of such projects. One of our local parks, Penny Potter, will be provided with surveillance safety cameras. Our local students are being tutored, our local libraries, through our funding of Dynasty United Youth Association. This year in particular, the UNNC paid special attention to the tremendous social changes affecting our society and adopted a position on a significant number of pending matters being considered by the City Council. UNNC presented anywhere from 14 to 20 CISs, or common impact statements, to the city. Some had to do with how to best reallocate any funds transferred from the LAPD. And we also supported several issues, such as debt and rent forgiveness for the COVID-19 afflicted, fare free transit in the city, CalCare, which would be universal health care in California, and also the California Universal Basic Income for Transition Age Youth Foster Care System. UNNC helped develop and create character residential overlay districts, which we also call HPOZ Light. There are two in our area, Arlington Heights and Angeles Vista. There's also one example here, the late Victorian home at 1828 South Gramercy Place in Angeles Vista survived demolition thanks to UNNC involvement. It was successfully designated a historic cultural monument. Also, and more recently, the UNNC supported the historic cultural nomination of the School of Higher Education building located at St. Andrews in Venice. This past year, the UNNC has joined many neighborhood council alliances and appointed several reps to participate in them. You can see some of the alliances logos here. And also as board members, we have also an opportunity to gather along with other neighborhood council members. You will see here a photo of our Mayor Eric Garcetti with a whole group of board members from our citywide neighborhood councils. I am somewhere in there on my tippy toes because I'm short and everybody's taller than me. Moving on, the UNNC fulfilled its mission to provide a forum for public discussion on city governance by hosting a debate between then City 10 candidates, Margaret Lee Thomas and Grace Yu last year. Also, we were proud to host the first ever virtual UNNC Candidates Forum with 17 participants as candidates, which we've been told was a record number for the history of the UNNC. UNNC participates in the LAX Roundtable, which addresses the noise pollution generated by low-flying airplanes. It had a significant role in getting our council district involved in the issue, which in turn helped the city of LA win its a recent lawsuit against the FAA. Also, the UNNC has been an early adopter of the Slow Streets program in Jefferson Park, which is about to launch its second phase with permanent infrastructure. Many of our projects and accomplishments actually take years in the making. It's difficult to just narrow it down to this past fiscal year. As an example, the LaSalle Gateway Monument project around Normandy was initially partially funded by the UNNC in 2009 and only completed this past December of 2020. So a long time to make this project happen. In the last decade or so, we have actively worked with developers to successfully build housing at all market levels and types, about 1,000 units, more than half affordable. And there's so many more statistics and numbers, but we just don't have the time now. We were also very fortunate to have several city leaders as guest presenters this past year. These presentations would usually happen before our actual meeting, right, at the governing board meetings. They address several topics of community interest. Ron Galperin, our city controller, came not once, but twice actually, and presented on city finances and resources in the age of COVID-19. And also on the new equity index. We also had Capri Maddox and Lisa Hart talking about a new, I think it was human rights and sustainability. Many committees also hosted excellent presentations by guest speakers at their own meetings. Also, and this is more internally, we highlighted Black History Month and Asian American History Month by having presentations created by Laura, our president, and myself. And we're getting to the end. In terms of the UNNC administrative business, which is currently ongoing, this year, we really sat down and reflected as committees on and redacted updated mission, vision, and goals statements. Additionally, our current standing rules are being revised. This concludes my presentation. Thank you everyone for all your hard work and help in making this year such an exceptional one for UNNC in spite of all the challenges presented to us. As you reflect on this word cloud, which in a way summarizes this presentation and our values, please think of how successful we were or not at fulfilling our mission statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. That was great.
Yay, Lizzie.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
So I'll leave about maybe 3 minutes if anyone has any questions. If not, then we can go ahead and move on. Let's see. Great. There we go. Rosie, I think, go ahead.
Hi, Lizzie. You were saying something about the second part of the Jefferson Park Library, but it kind of faded out. What were you saying?
The second part of the slow streets with that?
No, it was something we were talking about, the park that's on Jefferson.
No, Benny Potter. We recently approved funding partial or complete for surveillance cameras in their park.
Yeah. You had nothing about Jefferson Park? A second phase, second part?
I have not heard anything.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if I may add, the methodology used in creating this presentation was to go through, search, look, find each agenda and look through it. And I have an outline of maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 pages of all that we acted on, discussed. And unfortunately, I have to say this, we did not have proper minutes. So that made it really challenging, but it's done. And I'm happy.
You did a great job.
Sure, thank you. And I'm happy to share a longer version of it for anyone who would like to see in more detail what we did.
Go ahead, Laura. We have 1 minute.
Yes, sorry, I just don't have a blue hand to raise. I just want to say how excellent this presentation is. I know that Lizzie worked really hard on it, and I think worked until after 2 a.m. this morning to complete it. So thank you very much.
There was a technical,
whatever, but I know you worked really, really, really hard. And I have to say, I am so impressed by, is it called a word cloud? But the tree that's all words is stunning.
Yes. This particular one had an option to shape it in whichever shape you wanted. So yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. So if there are no further questions, then we'll go ahead and move on to spotlight number 2. So Rahim, if you want to go ahead and share your screen. The members of this group are going to be Laura, Teresa, Charlie, and Rahim.
Right. Lizzie, you need to unshare your screen.
Oh, yes. Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So I think just to add more context, if you could say your name and your neighborhood and then answer the question, I think that would help people familiarize themselves with you. Okay. Is that it, Rahim?
That's the first one. Whoever's first is question number 14.
Great.
Yeah.
So Laura, you're first, and you are question number 14. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Oh. Okay, my name is Laura Myers, and I live in Angeles Vista and have been here 38 years. So my favorite childhood memory, and my family talks about it over and over again, all relates to Christmas Day, which whatever year it was. But what it was is that my parents were out at some party, came home at 4 in the morning, decided we kids would wake them up in an hour. So instead they woke us all up. We had hot chocolate, opened our gifts. They went to bed. They got back up and we went to Disneyland. And then we went to Taylor's for Steaks for dinner. So it's a very odd Christmas, but it is probably not just mine, but all my siblings' favorite childhood memory.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Teresa, you're up. And your question is number 10. List 2 pet peeves.
Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa Masonette, and I live and represent the West Adams Avenues. So my 2 pet peeves, one would be lying. It takes a lot of courage to tell the truth. So when someone lies, to me, they're lacking courage. And I just find that I try to live my life with courage. So when someone else doesn't step up to meet the challenge, that I just don't like that. And then I guess littering. If I see somebody throw something on the trash, or if I go, in the park and I see trash, just makes me feel like people don't care about their environment, and they're not trying to make society better. So I guess those are my 2 pet peeves.
Thanks, Teresa. I also don't like littering. Charlie, you're up next. So your question number 12, what is your favorite zoo animal and why?
Zoo animal, gosh, maybe elephants. I don't know why, but that's the first one that came to mind. Just because they're so powerful but gentle, and I think that's something, you know, that we can all strive for. I don't know. But thanks for the question. I'm excited to be here. I'm Charlie. Sorry, I do things out of order. From Harvard Heights, and just really happy to be a part of this group. So thanks for having me.
I didn't hear her animal.
Oh, an elephant. And I'm not sure why, because it was just the first thing that came to my mind. But because I guess I admire that they have the potential to be so powerful, but they really are gentle for the most part. So, and so smart. Okay, that's all.
Nice. Well, welcome, Charlie. We're excited to have you. Rahim, you're up next. So 11, if you were a superhero, what powers would you have?
Oh, that's a good one. Good morning. Yeah, I was hoping I wouldn't get the zoo animal question, so I'm glad dodged that bullet. My name is Rahim. I live in Arlington Heights. If I was a superhero, my powers, I guess like being invisible. I like the idea of being, I mean, not for any nefarious purposes. I just like the idea of kind of being able to blend in and just kind of go under the radar when I need to be. So that's it.
It's a good one. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Laura, Teresa, Charlie, and Rahim. So up next is going to be a presentation on our governing documents, so our bylaws and standing rules. So I'll go ahead and share the screen. Let me see. I don't know what's best. I'm gonna turn off my camera. Let's see. Share. Okay, great. Can everyone see the screen?
Yep.
Yes, okay, great. So we wanted to go do again a high level review of our bylaws and standing rules. As Gibson mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, they're both uploaded on our website, so you can find them there. And they're not very long, but I do encourage you to take the time to review them. As this presentation is in brief, it's a short summary of what those documents contain. So let's see, let's start. So our bylaws set forth our mission and purpose. They also define who our stakeholders are and what our boundaries are. They govern the way that we operate and run our affairs. They set forth the duties of our directors and officers. They can be amended once a year or as directed by the Department of Neighborhood Council. Sorry, I think this is the wrong. Laura, is this I downloaded the one you sent me?
Yeah, no, that is correct. That
it is? Okay. Yeah. I thought you had to revise this. Okay. The bylaws can be amended once a year or as directed by the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. So we are hoping to go through the process of amending and correcting some of the conflicts this coming year. And to do that, we're going to need 2/3 of the entire board to approve any amendment or adjustment. So first, we'll start with our mission. So this mission is set forth in our bylaws, and I'll read it. It's to empower, bring together a diverse community to maintain and improve stakeholder quality of life. It's to work in cooperation with necessary agencies toward the protection and improvement of our area, effectively addressing the needs and concerns identified by our community. We strive to provide an inclusive, open forum for public discussion of issues concerning city governance, the needs of the council, the delivery of city services to the council, and on matters of citywide nature. And then we also strive to advise the city on issues concerning governance, the needs of the council, delivery of services to the council, and on matters of a citywide nature. So this really is what drives forth the types of actions that we take on a yearly basis. Who are our stakeholders? So our stakeholders are people who live, work and own real property within the UNNC boundary. They are also what's called a community interest stakeholder, and that's any member who is part of or participates in a community organization that exists within the boundaries of UNNC. So community organization is any entity that has been within the UNNC and operated within the UNNC boundaries for at least a year with ongoing activities. A for-profit entity cannot be a community organization, but community organizations do include chambers of commerce, houses of worship, faith-based organizations, educational institutions, and non-profit organizations. So that's something to keep in mind as people come to us and request funding, etc. So how do we govern ourselves? So the board has previously elected to follow Robert's Rules of Order for parliamentary procedure, where the default, therefore, is Robert's Rules of Order, where we ourselves have not adopted our own rules for conducting our business. The board last adopted standing rules in 2015. They are also due for an update, but that's what we operate under for now until they're updated. In order to update the rules, the board has to formally adopt an amendment, and it has to be approved by a majority of the board. And obviously, to the extent there's any conflict with state and federal law take precedence. So UNNC representatives. So there's two types of representatives at UNNC. There's what we call an at-large board stakeholder rep, and then a regional resident stakeholder rep. The at-large board stakeholder reps are expected to take part of UNNC-sponsored events and to sit on a committee as a regular attendee. Essentially attending a committee meeting at least every other month. Regional resident stakeholder is expected to conduct outreach, attend neighborhood meetings, represent UNNC at the various neighborhood block associations and at any UNNC sponsored events, and then to also attend UNNC committee meetings whenever an issue affecting the community, the region that they represent is up for review. We also encourage that board member to outreach to their region stakeholders and notify them if a committee is deciding on an issue that's going to affect their region. So UNNC governing board, these are the rule, our governance rules. So to start a meeting, we have to have quorum, and that means 13 members. To take official action, we need to have a majority vote of the total number of members present. So even if not all 23 members are present at a meeting, the number, at least 13 have to be present to run the meeting, and then at least 7 have to vote in favor of something for it to be adopted by the board. Our duties and powers. So we have to be, our bylaws encourage that we are cognizant of the fact that, we represent, as a member of the board, we represent the community and we represent UNNC. However, we, as neighborhood members, active neighborhood members, we are likely to attend other neighborhood meetings and city meetings. In those meetings, we can acknowledge that we are UNNC reps, but we cannot, and we can put forth individual opinions, but not opinions that represent the, not opinions that that state that we're speaking on behalf of the board. We can only do that if we are expressly approved by the board to do so. Otherwise, in those meetings, you have to make sure you let people know that you're not representing UNNC, or the thoughts or opinions are your own. Any written materials that come from the board as a designated rep of UNNC must be approved by 2 officers before it is sent out. So just keep that in mind whenever you want to send out public communications. You really do need to get the approval of 2 board members. I'm sorry, 2 officers. Absences. So board members are required to contact the vice president or another acting executive committee officer if they will be late to any board meetings. After 1 unexcused absence, the board member will be contacted by the vice president, requesting a reason as to their absence. After 2 unexcused absences, the absentee board member may be invited by the executive committee to meet with the officers to discuss the absences that are deemed unexcused. We have the board has the option, to remove any board members due to absenteeism after more than 3 unexcused absences from regular board meetings. So we highly encourage you to please, let the VP or any officer know if you're going to be late to a meeting or if you're not going to be able to attend beforehand. Training. So Gibson already mentioned this at the beginning, but all board members must take ethics and funding training and code of conduct training prior to making motions and voting. I think Dunn gives you 1 month to complete the training. Again, our bylaws need to be updated. They allow for up to 4 months to be trained, but we encourage you to please complete the training within Dunn's 30-day requirement. To the extent someone does not complete the training within 6 months, they will be dismissed from the board. So again, we highly encourage you to complete your training on time. UNNC has 2 types of committees. So we have ad hoc committees and standing committees. Ad hoc committees are created on a temporary basis to deal with very specific issues. For example, the retreat, the board created a retreat committee. Standing committees are those committees set forth in the standing rules, and they focus on issues and projects raised by their own members, by the stakeholders. They may discuss issues referred by the board or the executive committee, and they meet on a regular basis, which is why they're a standing committee. Our standing committees are unique in that any stakeholder who attends the standing committee meeting is really deemed to be a member of that committee. So they have the ability to vote, to make a motion, to bring something up for review, etc. The standing committees meet monthly on a regular standing meeting night. Chairs of the various committees will present later today. But for example, we have an economic development committee, environmental committee, planning and zoning, homelessness committee, etc. But we'll have presentations from the various chairs later today. Any interested stakeholder may serve as a committee chair or co-chair. Chairs serve for 1-year terms and are appointed by 2/3 vote of the board. UNNC online accounts and UNNC names. So this section needs to be updated in our bylaws, but one thing that we want to highlight is that, to the extent you create an online account that you're going to use for UNNC business, or you create an account that has the UNNC name, you must provide that administrative login to the executive committee within 1 week of the account creation or upon request from the executive committee. We just want to make sure, that we're aware of all of the accounts that exist. Obviously, we already have the social media accounts, but these are any other accounts that you as a chair think or as a member want to create as your online presence using the UNNC name. We really want you should provide us the administrative login just so that we have control of that. And so that's the end of my presentation. If you guys have any questions, please raise your hand. And again, I encourage you to please go on our website and read those 2 documents.
Nancy, we have a multitude of raised hands.
Okay, great. So I'll start with Dolores. Go ahead.
Nancy, when you said that there had to be a quorum of 13 people, does the board still have 23 members and 13 makes a quorum?
Yes.
Okay.
We still have 23. Teresa?
Thank you, Nancy. I just want to make a notation regarding training where you said, oh, sorry, guys, making a motion and voting. If we could get clarification on that, voting after you've been sworn in, voting after you've had training, voting, whatever we're going to decide to do on that. Let's just make it very clear under what conditions you can vote.
Yes, no, I think that's something that we're hoping to create a committee this year to really work on the bylaws. I think they haven't been updated, I think, in a while.
Thank you.
But we will. Thanks, Teresa, for that comment. Raheem?
Hey, Nancy, thanks so much for that presentation. Sorry for the background noise. About the standing committees, I feel like since I've been on the board, we've never re-voted for committee chairs. It says that every year that's supposed to happen. So I'm just wondering if that's something that you've looked into or have any ideas about.
Nancy, may I address that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Laura.
I can't raise my hand. Actually, Raheem, we not only have, but last August we did. Maybe you missed the meeting, but you were elected by 2/3 vote as committee co-chair with Gabby. So we definitely do.
Okay, but so all committee chairs get like re-certified or re-voted at the same time every year?
Yeah, the bylaws say August.
To do it. Yeah.
Not both of us were telling you. Our bylaws say every August. So again, you know, everything is up for change when there's a bylaws committee, but that's what the bylaws currently say, every August. If somebody proposes a new committee, that can be at any time, and then we would vote to establish a committee and then to vote on its chair or co-chairs at any time.
Okay. Hugo, go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Hugo Rodriguez, my at-large rep. Sorry for being late today. I was gonna say in regards to the bylaws, I spoke with Gibson about my eligibility to be a member since I moved out of the area and I'll be moving into South Central Neighborhood Council. So I'm not sure if this is the right time to, I guess, drop the board, but I wasn't sure when when that decision would be made, but I just mentioned it because that's what the stakeholder definition was discussing.
Hey, is that a Gibson answer?
Please clarify or recap, please. You were told you had to move to a different neighborhood council?
Greg, we did not tell Hugo he needed to do anything. He is trying to be the most ethical person that he can be. But Gibson and he discussed this, so that's why sorry, Nancy, I know you're chair of the session, but if it is okay, Nancy, can we call on Gibson?
Yes, if it can be answered shortly. If not, then maybe we should take it off.
Thank you.
So I didn't catch the question. The question is, can you repeat the question?
He wanted to know if he's already off the board or if there's a time frame for him to be off the board based on the community stakeholder definition.
So The answer is, I mean, based off technically because he's still serving this board, he's still serving his board, but as his stakeholder status is changing, the most ethical thing would, if he's not able to sort of qualify as a board member, there's resignation. In most scenarios, a lot of board members do not say anything, so we commend you for being honest about it. And I think, yeah, just moving forward, I think the best course of action would be, if you don't see a qualification, I do still think your participation in the system can work in South and where you've moved in South Central. So that's the best, that's the answer I'm going to give.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Hugo. Hopefully you'll be able to stay for the
Yeah.
rest of the retreat.
I just
Okay.
was gonna be able to participate in this meeting because yeah. So I guess the answer is no. So.
Okay.
The
All
answer is
right. Sounds good.
if Ugo, you want to continue participating in this meeting, go ahead and do so. But as you've notified us, just do the thing. Proceed forward after the meeting and just do a follow-up with the board president if you're going to be resigning after. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Laura, did you have your hand up, and then Denise, and then I think we'll move on.
Yeah, I just, there's one little piece that's always confusing to people as to how, not how we vote, but when we vote and people abstain, where that language is not including abstention. So on an effective basis, if you abstain on a matter, in effect, you're voting no, because how we count votes is only the yeses towards getting to at least a majority. It's very complex how they decided that, but that is what it is.
Okay. And Denise, go ahead. And then.
Yes, I was just getting in on the tail end of the conversation about Mr. Rodriguez and whether or not he was eligible to be on the board because he no longer lives in the area. So I guess that question I had was, is he an area rep or an at-large rep?
He's at large.
So as an at-large rep, do you have to live in the area? I mean,
yes.
You just had to have business and you don't have to live in the area, right?
Denise, I'll answer that. What happened is that the city council adopted a motion late last year that changed part of the definition of community interest stakeholder to saying that the organization he or she is a member of or participates in must have a brick and mortar address within the boundaries of a neighborhood council. So UNNC, of course, objected to that, but nobody listened to us. So right. So our practice all these years is, if somebody's really invested in the community in one way or another, then they can be a at-large representative. But the city council's, the nuance in that city council final motion makes it more difficult. And Hugo obviously grew up here, lived here, his friends are all here. He goes to church here, but now on Zoom, he goes to participated in recreation, Normandy Recreation Center, blah, blah, blah. But it's difficult with the new definition, not impossible.
Okay, thanks, Laura. I didn't realize that they had changed it. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on, we're going to go to member spotlight number 3. Again, please introduce yourself and then answer the question. So, Rahim, I'll let you start sharing the screen. Group number 3 is made up of Chris Carlson. Chris, can you also change your name to state your participant name to state what neighborhood you're part of? So go to participant, then click your name, click more, and then rename, and then just add your neighborhood so people know. So group 3 is Chris, myself, Paula, Lizzie, and then Hugo if you're gonna stay. So we'll start with Chris.
Okay,
Chris. So
yeah, I'm just redoing what you asked me to do. My name is Chris Carlson, and I'm an area rep for the Western Heights and Kinney Heights area. It's area 4. I've been on UNNC now This would be my second consecutive term and my third overall term. Was there something else you wanted me to answer?
Yeah, your question, Chris. We're doing like random questions. So your
Right,
question
and
is what makes you laugh?
I'm sorry, just 1 second. Let me clear the screen. What makes me what? Which question's mine?
Laugh. Number 4.
makes
What
me
makes you
laugh?
laugh? Yep.
What makes me laugh? A lot of things. You know, I enjoy a good joke. I enjoy levity and optimism in people around me. And I think it's, even when times are difficult or challenging, it always seems to be a little better if you can kind of laugh even at the troubles and the challenges and the mistakes, because it just allows you to keep moving forward instead of being stymied. So, but yeah, a good joke will usually get a chuckle out of me.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris.
Okay.
Nancy, who's next?
I'm up next. I'm next.
All right.
Let's see.
All right, Nancy. Question number 20. Who knows Nancy Cruz the best?
Oh, yes. My mom. My mother knows me the best. She knows when I'm in my moods. She knows when I'm happy, when I'm sad. It's just, yeah, it's very enmeshed. But yes, no, I love my mom. So she's the one that knows me the best. Yes. Okay.
Is your mom,
next.
wait, sorry, Nancy, follow-up question. Is your mom your best friend?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
That's cool.
Very close. Okay, so Paula, you're next.
Paula, question number 1 is for you. Are you unmuted?
Yes, now I am.
All right, Paula.
All
Who is
right.
your hero and why?
Wow. Hi, I'm Paula Southern. I'm an at-large rep. I actually live in the Crenshaw, Baldwin Hills area, but I attend church at West Angeles, and that's how I'm able to be a representative. Hallelujah. So who is my hero? And I've seen these questions too. I would say it is well, my mom, she passed on, but I was born in 1949, and my parents separated when I was 2, which was very unusual, you know, back in the 50s. And she struggled as a single parent way back then, but she, with the help of my grandparents, made a wonderful home for us. She ended up remarrying when I was 10 to a wonderful stepfather. But my mom, she just really endured and hung in there, and she's here. Thank you.
Beautiful. Shout out to all the moms, huh?
Yes.
Lizzie, you're up next. So.
All right. Oh, really? Oh.
It's a repeat question. Do you want a different question?
Oh, which is it 18?
It's it's the languages question, which we had earlier.
No, it's funny.
Perfect, right?
It's funny, yeah. It's funny because my background my major was linguistics and Spanish. And so everyone asks me after they know I'm a linguist by education, how many languages do you speak? So anyway, which is not what linguistics is about. But anyway, so I speak my native language. My first language is Spanish, then English. I speak some Japanese, not as much as I would like to, and very basic Portuguese, Italian, and then I took 1 year of Latin just because it's just fulfilling. Foreign languages is also part of the major, so that's it. But I love languages and language rights. I'm a big advocate for language rights.
Very cool, Lizzie. I don't think you gave your intro about who you are, though, and where you live.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My bad. Yeah, I'm Lizzie. I live in Jefferson Park, and I'm one of the 4 Jefferson Park reps. I'm proud to be
Okay,
here.
and now can you say it in Portuguese? Okay.
Oh boy. Please.
It's a good one.
Is there one more, Nancy, or no?
Yes, so
No.
Hugo, if you're still here.
Oh.
I don't know if he
He's
did he leave? Oh, there he is.
Hugo, she
Hugo, you're
said,
up.
he's here.
Yes.
Ooh, it's another repeat, but a good one maybe.
Oh,
Mhm.
favorite childhood memory.
Yeah.
So, like I said earlier, I'm Hugo Rodriguez. I'm an at-large rep, or was. I lived in Angeles Vista, and I will be living in South Central. My favorite childhood memory, I think it's when I celebrated my 10th birthday in Mexico. I visited, and then I had a lot of I had a lot of family over there, and then we were breaking a piñata, and the piñatas over there, I guess they were made out of some type of, I don't know, but it was like pottery. I don't know, maybe it was that piñata, but when you would hit it, it was really hard. It was like a statue. Then I remember hitting it, and then it was like a Spider-Man piñata, and the body fell out, but the head stayed. And I kept trying to break it, and then one of my friends, who was a neighbor, all of a sudden he just runs into it while I was hitting the piano, and I hit him on the neck. And then and this is I guess his most memorable childhood memory, because I wasn't happy about the fact that I hit him on the neck. And then he went away. He left the house kind of like in pain. And then I came back a couple years later in Mexico, and I asked one of our neighbors, "Oh, whatever happened to him?" He told me, "Oh, his face got all twisted and he had to get surgery." And I got so terrified, but then he told me he was just kidding. And so I don't know why children are like that. But yeah, so that was mine.
Hysterical. Thank you, Hugo. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. All right, so up next is we're going to do a short presentation on how to make motions. As I mentioned in our previous PowerPoint, our default rules are the Robert's Rules of Order. UNNC, and John has a website that has a 1-hour webinar on Robert's Rules of Orders that we're going to steer you towards. I think that you should go ahead and do that. I don't think it's a required training, but it's very highly encouraged in order to learn how we run our meetings. But we don't have an hour to do the webinar right now. So we're gonna do just a short video by the same vendor on how to make a motion. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that up on the screen. 1 second. Oh, let's see, share. I see, okay. Okay. Can you guys hear it? No.
No.
Nancy,
No.
you may need to unshare the screen, go back to there and enable audio and video, and then reshare the screen. So when you click share screen, there's a little button to push to enable the sound.
Share sound, got it. Okay. Oh, right.
Thank you, Laura.
And Nancy, I have it also if it's easier. Oh, there you go.
I consider to be the 3 most important. This video is to talk to you about what I consider to be the 3 most important motions used during most meetings. The main motion, amendments, and amend the amendment. Let me say it one more time. The main motion, amendment, and amend the amendment. Now, if you already know how to do these 3 basic motions, I applaud you. But what I want you to think about doing is how are you going to teach your board members how to use these 3 basic motions? Because it's not enough for you to know them. You've got to make sure everybody on your board at least knows these 3 motions so that you can start having more productive meetings. So let's talk a little bit about the main motion. The main motion is how you really bring business to the assembly. Before you have a main motion on the floor, you're just talking about information. And while information is important, it's not business. You transition into business by making what is called a main motion. The main motion starts with I move. Go ahead and say it with me. I move. So simply stated, I move. What are we going to move? Let's say I move to purchase 1 DVD for our organization. So now you've got business that's being put before the assembly. As you may recall from the DVD, after you have a main motion on the floor, you have to take what's called a second. Is there a second to the main motion to purchase 1 DVD for our organization? Once the main motion has been properly moved and seconded, now you can have what I call focused discussion. Now, in my opinion, this should be the new F word. It's focus, people. It's all about creating focus. Think about how powerful a laser is because it can focus. So many boards lose their power because they're not able to focus collectively. They get all screwed up and end up going off topic because people aren't focused in a common direction. The main motion helps us to have a focused discussion to ultimately make a collective decision. Now, let's talk about the next motion. So if the main motion brings business before the assembly so that we can have focused discussion about that motion, what is an amendment? Now, let me just back up as I say this. The main motion is the motion. Every other motion you're going to make using Robert's Rules of Order is about supporting that main motion. So an amendment is either going to add to or subtract from the main motion. So let me give you an example of what an amendment can look like. So if we chose to purchase how many DVDs? 1 DVD. We can amend the motion by maybe striking out 1 and inserting 3. So now the amendment is really about talking about how many DVDs we're going to buy. Now again, the amendment helps us to have focused discussion about the mini changes that we would like to make to the what? The main motion. So the amendment is supporting the actual main motion, how robust it's going to be, actually what it's going to say. So let's just think about how important those amendments are. Now, why are making amendments so important? And I want to just kind of put this out there. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. The reality is, while we want boards to move quickly, they cannot make quick decisions. They have to do it 1 manageable bite-sized chunk at a time. And that's really what an amendment is. It's a manageable bite-sized chunk of change that we want to make to the main motion. So as a board, we need to collectively agree on this amendment or disagree on this amendment before we go back down and we start discussing the main motion. Now, let me take it 1 step further. There is then amend the amendment. When I go in and I work with my organizations, these are the 3 motions that I make sure everybody understands because they really are the building blocks that help you have great meetings. If you don't know how to make a main motion, an amendment, and an amendment to the amendment, then you're going to waste time and you're going to ultimately waste money and you're going to create a lot of frustrated people in the progress. So if our amendment, well, let's go backwards. Our main motion was what? To purchase 1 DVD. Then there was an amendment that was made. The amendment was to strike out 1 and insert 3. Now, right now, we're only talking about the number. So I can't come in and make another amendment about what type of DVD. I need to keep it about the quantity. So it's about specific change. So how can I amend this amendment? Make another small, manageable change so that we can talk about it before we vote on it. That's right. I can maybe increase the number of DVDs that I want to buy. So maybe I move to amend the amendment by striking out 3 and inserting 6. Well, I see if I can hold all these, right? and inserting 6. So now what we're talking about is having focused discussion about the 6, the quantity, the number of instructional DVDs that we want to buy for the organization.
Great. Option. Great. So I want to, so that was just a snippet of the Robert's Rules of Orders, and we wanted to do one on how to make motions because that's one of the most important things that we do as board members to move the business along. I also want to direct you to the UNNC website. Let's see if I can find it. Okay. So it's one second. I don't think. Okay. Great. I think I'm gonna have to send that via email. I can't seem to find the website unless Gibson. Let's see if he's here.
So I'm actually working to make sure that everybody gets access to the Robert's Rules. Right, Robert's Rules of Order. So the portal that we do use is on our website too. It's empowerla.org/EVG. It's going to be there. So all the board members who've been on the board before, they already have the access, but we also reworking to make sure all the new board members are onboarded into a new platform. So we still have access to that. We still have access to the platform until next year.
Okay.
So it is empowerla.org/EVG. There we go.
Yes, so here it is, empowerla.org/EVG. So you go to this website and then you create an account, and it's actually your personal email, and it's not the UNNC email, but it's the personal email tied to your UNNC email. And then you create the account, and then once you log in, there will be a number of Robert's Rules webinars and spreadsheets and FAQs. So again, we highly encourage you to take that training.
And may I interject just something, Nancy? Some of the board members have had, given Rahim a particular email for their UNNC email to forward to, but it may not be the email they use on a day-to-day basis. So you need to, if you're going to do this, remember the specific email you had provided to Rahim to use for that one.
Okay. Okay, great. So I think next up is, let me see, member spotlight number 4. Is that right? Okay. So
hello, team. I'm back again. And one thing, the first group that I led, they didn't get a chance to say who they represent. So since I just have a few people, I just quickly want to ask Dorit to say what area you represent.
Hey everybody, I'm an at-large representative. Thank you.
Thank you. Taylor?
Yeah, I'm at-large.
Okay, thank you. Dennis?
I'm Dennis. I'm an area representative for Harvard Heights and that portion of Sugar Hill known as West Adams Heights.
Thank you. John? Unmute.
Did you say Jim or John?
I said John.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard Jim. I was like, who's Jim? John Arnold, Area 6, east side of Jefferson Park, also known as the Bungalows.
Thank you. And Hugh?
Yeah, I'm the area representative for one of the area representatives for Harbor Heights.
Thank you. Thank you all. All right. So moving right along, our group for this time time are Greg, Dolores, and we already have question number 14 up. Is that, oh no, we're doing question 3. Greg, what's your proudest accomplishment? Oh, how do you change it to 6? Okay.
Sorry, it was a
I'm
repeat,
sorry.
so I switched it up.
Okay.
Okay, Greg.
Okay.
Are you there? So now you got number 6. Do you like or dislike surprises? Why or why not?
Okay, my name is Greg Jackson. I'm from Region 4, the residential representative, which is Western Heights, Kenny Heights, and Gramercy Park. I like positive surprises. I like surprises that make people happy. I like surprises that are funny. I don't like surprises that are hurtful or mean or just negative. Why not is associated with, if the surprise is something positive and makes the day better, it's great. If the surprise is something that creates pain and discord, of course not. No, I don't want that. So yeah. Positive birthday
Thank you.
parties, yes.
Thank you. Okay, remember that was surprise birthday party. Dolores, you are our next candidate, and your question is 19. What is something you will never do again?
One thing you will never do again is, in my youth, I got sloppy drunk.
Oh boy.
Off of gin and juice, and I will never, ever, ever do that again. As a matter of fact, I don't drink gin to this day.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And we have Paul King, unmute yourself. And Paul's question is, number 10, list 2 pet peeves.
2 pet peeves. So good. I'm glad I got this one. This one's so much easier than who is your hero.
And what you present, I don't know that Doris did that. Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Sure. So I guess I can't remember who had this question before, but I would say the first one I have is people lying is a really major pet peeve of mine. And then people who have a superior attitude or think they're better than others or you just drives me crazy. It makes me really mad. And then I'll throw in a freebie third one, people that don't pick up after their dog. That's it.
All right. And your area that you represent,
Yeah,
Paul?
so I totally forgot all about that part. But yeah, so I'm an at-large representative and I live in Kenny Heights.
All right. And Dolores, your area?
Yeah, I forgot. I'm sorry. Dolores Spears, area rep, and I live in Region 6 in Jefferson Park, and a resident for 27 years.
All right. All right. Is it Nancy?
Paul, I think I'm going to add Michael. He's here. So Michael, you're next.
Okay, Anita, Rahim. Hey, Michael, unmute yourself.
Unmuted.
All right. So, yeah, Michael, say your name and your area.
Michael. Yeah, Michael Kimbrough, and I'm in the West Adams Avenues.
Okay, your question is number 15. What was your favorite subject in school? There's a question.
Well, elementary school was mathematics. High school was probably chemistry.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right.
Well, I just want to confirm, did all the board members go? I think everyone went, but if you didn't, can you please raise your hand and let me know? I think everyone. Okay. And then I was actually going to ask Gibson to do it as well. Gibson?
Oh, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Gibson, unmute yourself.
Gibson.
And say what you represent again. And Gibson, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we're gonna do an icebreaker for you, Gibson. We have time. We're actually good on
so again, what you represent?
So my name, so again, I am, I represent the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. So I am your, how do I say it? I'm your rep. So I'm your neighborhood empowerment advocate rep. So what I do is I assist.
Advocate.
Yeah, advocate, the neighborhood empowerment advocate.
And your question is, oh, we changed it to number 5. Do you have a nickname and what is it?
Most of my friends call me Gibby. My close friends call me Gibby. My mom, when she's mad at me, she calls me all 3 of my names, Gibson, Mwangi, Nyambura.
Right.
Yes. And my cousins call me by my middle name, Mwangi.
Wangi.
Yeah, Mwangi. And my last name, Nyambura, means born in the rain.
Oh, that's
beautiful. Thank you. A little extra information. All right, well, that does it. Thank you all, board members. This was a wonderful and an uplifting part of our meeting, and I think it brought us back to what in the first place. Let's get back to a level place and not be down. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. So the next item on the agenda are the elections. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by putting up a description of the election of the various positions on the screen based on our bylaws. So let me see if this works. So pursuant to our bylaws, we have 5 positions. So we have the president, the vice president, secretary, treasurer, and signatory. And then under the standing rules, we have a parliamentarian. So I'm going to give you a minute or so to read this on your own. Our president is Laura Myers for the last fiscal year. For the last fiscal year, I served as vice president for, I think, only maybe half of the year. And then our secretary is no longer on the board. And then our treasurer for the last fiscal year was Greg. Our signatory for the last fiscal year was Hugo. And we did not have a parliamentarian the last fiscal year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each officer to maybe speak for about 2 minutes about their role and to give everyone some insight into what that role is. And then I think Laura and Greg, unless there's another way to proceed, I was going to do the elections by role.
I'm sorry, you're going to do the elections by?
Yes.
By role. So president first, then vice president.
Got it. And Nancy, are you running for an office?
I don't think so. Yes.
Okay, because if you're running for an office for that section, you should pass the gavel.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I was just gonna add into focus is as everybody sort of takes a read on the executive officer positions, just want to let everybody know that the nomination process, the way I've conducted it for my boards as I've sat the new boards is anybody can be nominated. A board member can nominate another board member, and also a board member can nominate themselves. And it's up to the board member to accept the nomination. And then once the nomination of the president is conducted, and then the president can go down the list and conduct all the other officer elections. And each officer elections is conducted, as mentioned by Nancy, by roll call. I see a couple of hands. Michael, do you have your hands up?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
I'm not certain of this parliamentary procedures or any of that, but it's my understanding that we have 8 new board members that are eligible to vote. So my question is, how do they know who they're voting for?
That's why sort of the officer presentation is usually, it's, in my experience, what happens is the board does a huge discussion. The board members who are interested in running introduce themselves, do a presentation, explain themselves why they're running. And then if the board members can ask questions, and if board members want to do that, they can also get any questions from members of the public as part of public comment. They can get questions from stakeholders, and then once sort of that indication is over, then the board makes the selection.
Okay.
So Michael, right.
I'm not done yet. is it inappropriate at this point to introduce a motion to table the elections until the next meeting?
If there's enough votes, the board can do that.
Then
You just have to make
But
sure.
we're required under our bylaws to do it the first meeting. Yes. So that's why we're doing it, Michael. But
Okay.
again, if
Okay.
if there's enough votes to table, then it could table.
Michael's, Gibbs, this is not me rendering an opinion. This is me asking if a person wanted to make that motion to table, and I'm not personally necessarily, I will not vote one way or the other. Let's put that out there. Does that, which takes precedence? And I'll point out in the past, occasionally we have not voted in July, but our bylaws definitely say that the election of officers is that first meeting after the new board is seated. Which is priority, the motion, if it's seconded, or the bylaws?
Most of my experience, it's the bylaws. But if the board sort of feels as that's the best course of action, one thing is just stakeholders can come back and say that allege that the board is not following its bylaws, right? There's always the grievance process sort of stating that the board is not following its own bylaws, just as a FYI.
Well, let's see if we even have a second.
Okay, so I make a formal motion to table the elections until the next meeting to sort out what seems to be some confusion over the matter.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay, oh well.
All right, Greg, you have your hand raised.
I just wanted to say that part of this meeting and part of the introduction of people that will run for the offices is to get to know each other. And so that's why it's important for members' spotlights and knowing where people are at and sharing different questions, because this is an opportunity to get to know each other, to meet each other.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna stop sharing the screen and then I'll give each prior officer just 2 minutes to summarize their role, not necessarily what, we're gonna do a separate nomination period, but just so that people get an idea as to what the responsibilities are for each role and what they would be signing up for. So I'll start with the president. Laura, if you want to just give a 2-minute spiel about what you
Yes,
do
thank
president.
you. And I've written notes, so I'm not going to be able to watch the clock. So if you'll give me a 30-second warning. So, and again, I'm Laura Myers. I spend 20 to 30 hours a week on UNNC matters, except for some weeks, but most weeks it's 20 to 30 hours. I would say some of that is related to all the Zoom hosting of all the committee meetings, but my predecessor presidents attended physically committee meetings, but maybe not all of them every month. So the president must be available on email throughout the day, meaning all the time, must check the president's email daily and respond within 24 hours, check voicemail daily, respond within 24 hours. Many emails to the president are sent to the personal email, so that there's a lot. The president or his or her designee will keep the master calendar of UNNC meetings and events to coordinate everything with community standing meetings and community events so that there's not conflict. Attends committee meetings as needed, but should visit all of them over time with particular attention to planning and zoning. If the president is an area rep, he or she must fulfill those duties. In other words, all the things we already looked at, just because you're present doesn't mean you don't go to your appropriate neighborhood association meetings and any UNNC committee meetings with pertinent agenda items. If the president is an at-large rep, is required to participate in at least one committee, but we have in the past said executive committee would count as that committee. We could decide something different at a different time. And the president should also try to attend as many neighborhood association meetings as possible, meaning Harvard Heights or Avenues, etc. ditto HPOZ meeting. So that's all the things you can do outside. There's a great deal of administrative work and consultation with Dunn, the council office, various or stakeholder organizations. So this week I probably spent 35 hours, the week before maybe 10, but it's a time consuming job that I didn't expect to be quite so time consuming. Functionally, and Gibson might jump in, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment treats presidents as the CEO and chief administrators. And during COVID shutdown, that was amplified, and there was a lot of pushback to that from many neighborhood council presidents. Last but not least, the presidents participate in the citywide coalitions, and that includes a presidents and chairs coalition. Which, by the way, has a meeting tomorrow night. So there's just a lot of that, and I'm probably missing a lot of things that I do and talk to a lot of board members all the time.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for that summary.
No, I mean, Nancy, I'm sorry I didn't write it up, but when I started writing, it was already an hour and a half in of writing. And I can't do this because I already had spent 30 hours.
No worries. Greg, go ahead. I'll let you go next. Or I guess I can go next. Actually, I'll go next.
Okay.
So I am the vice president. I was actually elected earlier this year. I think we had another vice president before then who stepped down. The vice president role, at least for the first year, for this last year, was limited in the sense that I think a lot of duties that the vice president previously had were taken up either by the treasurer or the president because they were seated longer. So I will be honest and say that there wasn't really anything specific with respect to the vice president role that I did, but I am aware that, I think the vice president takes attendance at the beginning of the meeting, should also split the committee duties with the president, especially now that we're operating in a virtual world. And then 3, they are in charge of attendance. So anytime someone misses, they need to follow up with the individual as to why they were absent. Laura, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yes, I'm sorry. I should say our bylaws say that the president chairs the governing board meeting and executive committee, but our actual practice before we changed to Zoom was that the vice president chaired, meaning ran the meetings for executive committee. So that's not what the bylaws say. Asai was not able to, when he was vice president, was not able to chair and run the executive committee. So it just kind of floated back to what the bylaws said, but it would relieve the president of some degree of hours of attention if the vice president was able to run executive, and I would recommend that we make that change to the bylaws.
Okay. Great. So go ahead, Greg. You have 2 minutes.
The treasurer, or you want me to talk about secretary also?
Maybe you can combine them. Go ahead.
I'll do treasurer first, and I'll talk about the secretary. Okay. Currently, I'm serving as the treasurer for UNNC, and that is to administer the decision that the board has made concerning the execution of our funds. And those duties would include preparing the annual budget for the committee, for the board to review, to prepare reports on how we have spent money. Also coordinating, working with people that are requesting funds to make sure that they are completing the forms appropriately, and also working with our city contacts to make sure things are done according to their guidelines. A lot of communication with different stakeholders citywide, and then our community members, and also emphasis on making sure that the board member is informed of the status of our wallet and the percentage of how we have executed our funds. I like spreadsheets, so that kind of works for me. And I like colors, and I can color code cells. Okay, so that's the treasurer's job. Secretary. Okay, in the past, I've served as the secretary. And as the secretary, you're responsible for taking the minutes for both the executive board and the governing board, and then keeping those records and presenting those records to the board for approval and or making correction based upon, you like if I would type something wrong or spell somebody's name wrong, correcting that, and then maintaining those records so that when someone says, where are the minutes from such and such a date, you can say, here they are. These are available for everyone to view. The emphasis is on transparency and accuracy in records. For that job, anyone that does that, you just need to have the template for keeping the records. And it is not a dictation job. It's just keeping record of the main point and or the action items. You're not a stenographer for every word that is said. So that's the secretary's job. That was fun when I did it, for the most part.
Thank you, Greg. Hugo, do you want to give a short summary on the signatory role?
Yeah. So similar to what you were saying about the role of vice president, the role of a signatory was kind of limited because of COVID. I believe in the past, signatory would pay for the food or for items, for meetings, or if someone needed to pay something, the signatory would go, to the store where they were at. And the thing that I've done is I've paid different bills, like the public storage bills. And so, yeah, I think for the most part, it's been kind of limited because of COVID. And so I think it's going to be a more active role if we return to in-person meetings. So that's basically it.
Thank you, Hugo. I'm going to share the summary of the parliamentarian. We haven't had one, I think, in a while. But here's a summary. The parliamentarian really is someone to help us move the meeting in a timely, orderly way. It's someone that should be familiar with the bylaws and the standing rules, and they are expected to attend both executive committee meetings and governing board meetings. One change that we were thinking about for the standing rules is making at least 2 people be parliamentarians, because it's a commitment to attend both governing board meetings and executive committee meetings. But that's the role of the parliamentarian. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing. You have a question, Greg?
Yeah, Madam Vice President, on the proposal for the parliamentarian, are we saying that the parliamentarian, 1 or 2 of them, will be a member of the executive board, or will they just serve that function?
They would just serve that function. They're not, in our bylaws, they're not listed as an officer.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, stop share.
Nancy, I just emailed you. This is Laura speaking. One of the duties of the officers, I'll say president usually, is to have created a BAC board. Oh boy. Well, it's a
yes.
Right, and we didn't think about doing that for today. So I just emailed you, Nancy, the reduced version of our roster and just the seats they hold, if you want to use that for collecting votes. Sorry.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, I printed some for me, but because we didn't do, sadly, apologize, didn't think about it, folks, but did not create our voting form for the new board members.
I have one.
Unless you have one with a current.
Yeah.
Can I just add on one thing, Ms. Myers?
Yes.
So the BAC form really is more for the financial matters. Making sure that you keep track of voting record is really for the minutes. You make sure it's in your minutes. Detail, especially when it comes to roll call and all that stuff. The BAC's
Gibson,
works.
we use the same form for all of our votes. The point only was just for efficacy today. We didn't do it unless Greg.
Okay.
Greg said he did do it.
I have the role and I have the.
With the new names.
Yes.
So
Got
you
it.
can call the roll.
Okay.
And because, and Gibson, just again, we've had a series of different, done advisors. So we've been told that we do need to do almost all of our votes except approval of the agenda by roll call and write it down. But in Zoom, we really have to because we don't necessarily know who's here. So it's also our way of keeping track in general. In general, it's our way of keeping track of quorum. So for today, the only point was, but if Greg has a BAC, then with the new names, yay for Greg because he thought of it, and boo for Laura because she didn't. So, so Greg, are you able then to call the roll when we get to elections? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then we'll start with the president. Are there any nominations for president? And I'm gonna give this 8 minutes and hopefully we can get it done. So go ahead, Dorit, you have your hand up.
I would like to nominate Nancy as board president. She's done an amazing job at her short time as vice president. So Nancy, do you accept that?
Unfortunately, I don't think I will be able to, Dorit. Sorry about that. Greg, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I would like to nominate Dolores Spears for president of UNNC.
Dolores, do you accept the nomination? And you're also next.
I appreciate the thought, but I respectfully decline. I'd be interested in vice president, but not president.
Okay, Dolores, do you want to nominate someone? Your hand was up.
Nominate Raheem Dawson for president.
Okay. Raheem, do you accept the nomination?
I do accept the nomination.
Okay, great. Thank you, Raheem. Michael, you're up next. Do you want to nominate someone?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Laura to stay in the position.
Okay, Laura, do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I'm willing to do this, but I also just want to say I want to stay on the executive committee, but if you choose to go a different direction with president, I would like to be a different officer.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laura. Paula, did you have your hand up or you were going to make the same?
I did. I was going to nominate Laura.
Laura, okay, great. Okay, so we have 2 nominations. Are there, and Michael, do you still have your hand up or?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michael. Are there any other nominations? Again, you can also self-nominate if you're interested. 1, 2, going once, going twice, no more. Okay.
Excuse
Then
before
we
just
have-
sorry for
Go
before
ahead.
you just before you go look for just want to let everybody know I had my first in the board's nomination of officers. I had my first draw this time around. So because we do your bylaws talk about anything about if the board elects an officer, if there's going to be a draw, is there a process that sort of details what's the best way to remedy that?
I don't recall reading that, but I
Okay.
can't say 100% sure that it's.
So it's if there's going to be if there's going to be a draw, there's a possibility we may have to do a digital flipping the coin. I've had to do that, so just want to let everybody know that I've had that experience.
So they're not going to wrestle or throw rocks at each other.
No.
I mean, if you can digitally throw
because-
rocks, sure. No, I'm not inciting anything.
I'm not keeping count. How many board members do we have present?
18.
Okay, so if there was a draw, we would also have more than the minimum vote that we needed, which would be 7. essentially.
Let's figure that out once we get there. 'Cause
Yeah.
Who knows if we're gonna have a draw? And so just Gibson, to make sure, do we just have people vote by person or how does it work?
So because as you close the nominations, one thing is as you do the roll call, so each board member, as you go through the roll call, you say the name candidate you'll be
Say the
voting
name.
for.
Okay, got
And
it.
then once we do that, we tally the votes, and then and then the president of the board is elected.
Okay, great. Teresa, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Gibson. I want to kind of connect to what Michael was saying. As a new board member, I have had interactions more so with Laura than Raheem, but are we going to give them an opportunity, a couple of minutes to explain to us why we should vote for them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Hugo, do you have one more comment? And then I'm going to give the candidates the opportunity to do a little spiel about themselves and why they want the role.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that for these votes, I'm basically going to consider myself ineligible. So, you could just, I don't know, skip me, or when you call my name, just say ineligible. That's
Okay.
fine with me. Yeah.
Got
Thank
it. Thanks, Hugo. Okay, so Raheem, do you want to start since you were nominated first? Just give us a little background and why you want the position.
Sure. Again, my name is Raheem Dawson. I live in Arlington Heights. I've been on the board for about 4 years now. It's always easy for me to remember because my son was born shortly after I joined the board the first time around. I was recently elected as an at-large rep. I had a really great time serving in Arlington Heights. But when I saw that there were candidates who wanted to run in Arlington Heights, I was really excited about the idea of new people kind of coming in. I'll say when I first joined the board, I never would have expected to accept a nomination to be president. When I came on the board was full of really smart and still is really smart, well-served people that I was just in awe of for a really long time. I think I spent a good part of my time on the board those first couple of years just kind of sitting and listening, trying to learn from the really strong, smart people that were all around me. And it's crazy that as I sit here now, that I'm one of the longer serving people on the board now. I definitely didn't think that was going to be my trajectory on the board. I want to be president because I feel like we can be more effective, and I think it comes down to being more efficient. I think the work we do is very hard. It's very time consuming. One thing that I think we need to remind ourselves is that we are volunteers. And so I think we need to come back to the question of how we can make this work better for ourselves as individuals. I know that in my time on the board, I've seen people get burned out because if there's only a few people doing the work, that burden can become a burden. And so I think we need to keep coming back to the question of how we can make this board work for us so we can be a better service to our communities. I've had a really good opportunity over this past year to really step into my own role as a leader in various places, both at work and then also in my work as a co-chair on the communications committee with Gabby. I feel like we've done some really great work, and it's been a real honor to kind of help lead that group in kind of forming ideas and kind of taking on questions about who we are as a board and figuring out our identity and how we really interact and get word out to our stakeholders. As a person, I'm rarely ever the loudest voice in the room. Everyone has an ego, but I try to keep my ego very much in check. I don't ever think that I have all the answers. I like to be in rooms with people and have conversations. I don't consider myself the kind of leader that kind of makes mandates and decides things for people. I think that, especially on this board, we're a board of 23 people. There's a lot of different ideas. And I think the president's role is to be one to kind of help move things to consensus and not be that voice that moves people to consensus, but kind of help shape the conversation. And again, the last thing that I'll say is, in my time on the board, I feel like it took me a good amount of time to figure out my path on this board and how I could be my most effective self. And I'm still figuring it out. And I think as president, I would take it on as my role to really help every individual board member figure out their path faster than it took me. I think that one of my strengths as a leader is really advocating for people and helping people achieve goals. And I'd love the opportunity to help all of us as individuals achieve our goals as board members that kind of that fill out and that kind of roll up into our mission as a neighborhood council. That's it. So I hope you'll consider me for president. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raheem. Laura, you're up next.
Yes, thank you. So first I want to say that Raheem has in fact been an excellent leader, and I welcome him to being an officer, and again, or president, if that's how this comes out. And I would say, I mean, just obviously, if we had, and we did, if we have nominations of people other than me to be president, that does display that there's some dissatisfaction with how I've been doing the job. So, which I would like to hear more about. So one thing I had heard was over the last year, and then I'll tell you why I should be president, but that the meetings are too long, and I'm struggling with that, and I think anyone will struggle with that. And also a concern, maybe more important, that the chair of planning and zoning, being also the president, may not send the right message to people. But I do think the president of our organization has pretty much always been the chair of a committee. But I did this past year have, we have a co-chair, John Arnold, and as you might know, for those who attend the meetings, I always pass the gavel to John for land use items. So why should I be president still? So I want to say, if I am elected president, I really want Raheem to be an officer. I hope he feels the same, because I think we each bring to our officer table really good leadership, and there's very many differences between us and many of the same things. He's built a great team that he's consulting with on the communications. I feel I've also built a lot of teams with our new committees. I'm in the middle of many of our projects, and I would like to continue on with them. I do feel that it's been a struggle through COVID and through learning how to do Zoom and bringing people together on Zoom. And I feel that I actually did a very good job at that. And I have a vision for this neighborhood council that really is a continuation of why we were started. It is to be united, meaning we have multiple neighborhoods, a great diversity in our community, and that's in part the color of our respective skins, but it's not just that. We have young people, we have older people, we have people who do not have internet or who are not comfortable with it. We have lots of people who are on social media, but not in any other format, people who are not comfortable with our new way of meeting. And so we've been able to bring in a lot more people, but we have lost some of the people who had been attending all of our meetings in the past. And I, for one, have been trying to work on that. How do we communicate to people who don't speak our same languages? How do we communicate to seniors? How do we get them to know us? How do we advocate for our renters? We've really pivoted in the last couple of years to being a lot more cognizant of the difficulties. We have more development, but we have more people becoming unhoused because of that development. How do we work our way through that and yet be objective, knowing that we represent all of our stakeholders? So that would be owners of homes, renters, people who have been here 30 years or 60 years, people who have moved in a week ago. There's been difficult conversations, especially in our the next door and Facebook groups around our area about gentrification. But we need to be, unfortunately, for good or bad, we need to recognize that we objectively represent every single person who lives here, regardless if they're brand new or long timers, if they're Democrat or Republican, progressive or not. And how do we objectively come to conclusions? Is that, Nancy, are you waving at me that I'm at time? Or are you, okay. So I appreciate anyone who would support me. I've tried to be very collaborative and friendly. I do know, I mean, it's easier to point to my errors because here I've been sitting in front of you guys on Zoom for a year and a half. So I think my errors are more visible, and I pledge to, if you actually tell me what they are, fix them. But in any case, I'm here to serve UNNC. So if the best way I can serve is not as president, I definitely understand.
Great, thank you, Laura. So I guess I'll open it up for one question per candidate, and then we're gonna move on just for timing purposes. So if anyone has a question for either Laura, I'm gonna do 3 minutes for this, just so that we can move on. But if anyone has a question, please raise your hand. Go ahead, Lizzie.
This is a question for Rahim. Rahim, I appreciate so much what you have been done this year. Working closely with you and the communications team has been one wonderful experience, very enlightening and inspiring. How are you at the same time? I know that you are a very busy person. You have your work. You are a leader at your work. You are a family man, a wonderful parent to your kids, and I'm sure a wonderful husband. How are you going to manage the time needed to take this role?
Unmute.
Yep, appreciate your question, Lizzie. It was my pleasure working with you on elections and everything else where we cross paths. You know, this is like the question that comes up. I was asked this question, 4 years ago when I first joined the board, and I gave an answer, and I don't even remember what my answer was, but the reality is I figured it out. Do I respond to every single email that comes my way on Neighborhood Council Business now? Absolutely not. Am I at every single meeting all the time? Absolutely not. But I think that's the point. I think in kind of what I was saying initially is, this is a volunteer organization, right? And so I think we really need to focus on how to make things more efficient so that maybe it's not such a time strain on everybody. What I will also say is one thing about me as a person, whether it's in this role or in any other, I figure things out. I don't have a crystal ball as to how I'm going to manage, this with everything else. I just know that I'll figure it out. I wasn't going to even run for an at-large position once my term was up. I thought that my family is my priority, and I felt like things were taking too much time away from them. And it was actually my wife that encouraged me to run again and to run for president, because she knows the amount of passion I have for the work that we do. And so, I mean, I'm very well supported with my family and by my wife and with my friends who know that this is an important thing for me. It's Saturday morning at 11:30. I have 2 kids inside, but I'm here with you guys. I make commitments to the things that are important to me. I find the time when I need to. Can I promise that I'm going to spend 35 hours a week on neighborhood council business? I will not make that promise. Will I promise to figure out a way to make it work in the time that I do have? That will be my goal every day, every week that I'm in this office. Time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Dolores, I just want to.
Nancy, muted.
Mute.
Sorry, Dolores, I just want to make sure your question's for Laura so that each candidate gets one question. Go ahead and unmute. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Melissa. Go ahead.
I would apply the same question to Laura. Laura wears many, many hats and is amazing leading the planning and zoning. I don't think that I ever understood anything about land use until I met Laura and was on the board and listened to her. I mean, she's lengthy, but she breaks it down. But she wears many, many hats. She attends a lot of meetings. I believe you also have clients that may sometimes be in conflict with some of those planning and zoning duties and then being president. And I know you took on a lot of the vice president duties. So how are you going to manage all that?
Yeah, thank you. And you didn't even ask me plus historic preservation advocacy. So yeah, I work 14-hour days, 7 days a week at minimum. If the client you're speaking of is my primary client, I did discuss this before I was weighing whether I should run or not run. And one of the key questions was, am I able to do this without essentially the constant work conflict? And we have, that is worked out. I wear many hats. As I mentioned, on the Planning and Zoning Committee, I've passed a lot of the baton to John, and he could probably just shake his head yes if he wants to say that he has taken on a lot of it, and especially at the board meetings themselves. But he co-chairs that committee now and has been doing a huge amount of the work that is from that committee. I do have a very busy life. What I don't have is so sad, a lot of social life. And I do have family that I'm close to, but it's not a day-to-day inside my house. So I think I have effectively been able to juggle and would be able to continue to juggle the many roles. I think the issue is, to be honest, is how can I, also how could Raheem, but how can I help us get to a more efficient ways of running this organization so that our meetings don't drag on forever and ever. And it's a constant challenge. We're experiencing it right this second at this meeting. So I don't know if I actually answered your question, but I will say, yes, I'm very, very active in the community. I'm involved in big ways and small, with my neighborhood, with my neighbors, with a preservation advocacy group, with other things. But I think that makes me a better president because that means I am talking to city officials and community members all the time. Plus going to porch parties and having wine. Do that too. I'm done.
Okay. Great, thanks, Laura. So then I think now we'll go ahead and do a roll call for the vote. Greg, do you want to lead that? I know you
Yes,
have.
yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just call the names out and you can just tell me who you're voting for. Sarah is absent. Carlos is absent. Isaac is absent. Hugo Rodriguez has recused himself. Jasmine is absent. And if I'm in error and saying someone's absent, please let me know. Carla is
just here.
Absent.
Carla has arrived, Greg.
Okay, she's arrived. Okay.
You might wish to introduce herself.
We need to hear from. We need to meet Carla. All right. So.
Hi. I'm sorry. I'm sick. But
I'm sorry.
I'm here now.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm Area 1 representative. Nice to see you all, and happy to be here.
Carla, do you want to vote or?
Yeah, I think I'll abstain just because I don't know enough about either of the candidates, and I don't want to like make a decision.
Okay. Understood. Understood. All right, Charlie.
Hey, I think I'm going to abstain as well. I just feel like I don't have experience enough experience with either of them to make like a super informed decision, and it just doesn't feel like super responsible in terms of making a decision based on, you know, really today's interaction and maybe one other meeting. So I don't, is that okay? I mean,
It's fine. No, of course. It's
okay.
Okay. Okay. Taylor.
I'm another newbie to the council, so I'm also gonna abstain. I wish I could vote for both, but I think I need to abstain instead.
Okay.
We're all abstaining, all the new people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I'll come to that point at the end of the vote. Okay. Dolores.
You're on mute, Dolores.
Raheem.
Okay. Hugh.
Unmute you.
Hugh. Moore.
Sorry.
No problem. No problem.
Laura.
Okay. Okay. Raheem.
Raheem.
Okay. Okay. Paula.
Laura.
Okay. Okay. John.
Boy, I've been on this board for 14 years now, and I can probably count the really difficult votes on one hand. It's not one of them. I support both people who are running, and I just don't. Boy, and I'm not gonna abstain because I know both of them really well.
Okay.
So I good Lord. Laura.
Okay. Okay. Nancy.
Raheem.
Okay. Okay. Dorit.
Raheem.
Michael.
Laura.
Okay. Greg. Raheem. Lizzie.
Laura.
Okay. Paul.
Laura.
Okay. Chris.
Let's see, am I muted? No, okay. Like John Arnold, I've served a really long time with the organization. I do think as an organization, it's important that we embrace and bring new talent in and train them up. And I think it's best if we're going to do that, we should do it from a position of strength. And we've had really strong, good leadership in Laura, and I can't thank her enough. But I do think we need to, as one of the older faces, we need to be bringing and training our younger, talented members to step up. So I'm going to vote for Raheem.
Okay. All right, Laura.
Oh, did you call on me?
Yes.
Laura.
Okay.
Sure.
Dennis.
With great respect for both, I cast my vote for Laura.
Okay. Okay. Teresa.
I have respect for both too, but I'm going to vote for Laura.
Okay. So let me now count the votes. Hold on, let me shrink my sheet here. Okay, I have for Laura 1, 2, 3. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I believe that's correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then for Raheem, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So 9 to 6. Laura has 9 votes. Raheem has 6 votes. Okay. And then we had 1, 2, 3 abstentions. Okay. All right.
Congratulations.
Okay. Yes. So Greg, to repeat that again, nine votes in favor of Laura and then
9 vote in favor for Laura, and then 6 in favor of Raheem.
okay, so then Laura, you'll be president.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, everybody, very much. I really appreciate it. Gibson, I have a question. Nancy, do I now run the rest of the election, or should Nancy continue?
You can go ahead and take over the rest of the elections.
And if I'm running the rest of the elections, am I allowed to make a nomination?
Yes.
Okay, so we are opening the nominations for vice president. I nominate Raheem.
Raheem to accept the nomination.
I will respectfully decline. Thank you.
Okay, Raheem, your hand is up, and Lizzie's hand is up. So I'll go with Raheem and then Lizzie.
I'd like to nominate Dolores Spears for vice president.
Yes. Okay, Dolores has been nominated. Lizzie?
I wanted to nominate both, if I may, Raheem and Dolores. So
right, and actually I was going to nominate Dolores, but then I felt also that Raheem. Anyway, so Dolores has been nominated for vice president. Are there any other nominations, either from the floor or self nominations? Chris?
Did Dolores accept?
Oh, I'm sorry. Dolores, did you accept? She did. I thought she had accepted it when she was nominated for president, and she said she would accept the nomination for vice president.
Yes, she did.
Yes,
right.
I accept.
Okay. And then Chris?
I wanted to inquire if Nancy, who's currently serving as VP, is interested in continuing in that capacity.
Nancy?
Hi, Chris. No, I'm not. Thank you, though.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other nominations or self, you can nominate yourself because we're playing a guessing game here. Hearing none, I would close the nominations and would like to ask if we can do a vote by acclamation. Not that I know how to do on Zoom a vote by acclamation, but is that an appropriate approach? Okay, so to do a vote by acclamation, I think the answer is please either raise your blue hand or hit your reaction button, or if you're on video, raise your hand.
Okay, and just give me time to count the. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
My hand is up.
14. I have everyone voted that can vote.
Okay, so
I have 14.
okay, so I see again that Charlie and Carla did not vote. Are you abstaining?
I just didn't understand what it meant.
Oh, it meant that we just all say yes. Acclamation.
I will vote yes.
Okay, so that's, and Dorit, were you voting, Dorit? I didn't, so that's 14, 15, and Charlie, 16, and Dorit? Okay, so I have 16.
And did you get my vote, Greg? Because my hand's
I
been up
did,
and down.
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Thank you.
Okay.
This congratulations to Dolores, our new and once again.
I'm
vice
honored.
president.
Thank you all.
welcome back.
Welcome back.
Beep, beep.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't have this in front of me. Nancy, is treasurer next or secretary?
Treasurer.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think it matters, but yeah.
Okay, so nominations are open for, which one did we just agree to? Treasurer?
Treasurer.
Okay, Lizzie's hand is up.
I would love to nominate Greg.
Greg, do you accept?
Yes. Unless there's someone else. If someone else goes for it.
Right.
Then,
So
out.
and I'm just going to ask Dorit, did you want to be treasurer? Because I know you took the funding training.
No, God, no.
Okay, just asking. Because I do know that Greg had also said he would accept it, but if anyone else wanted it. So are there any other nominations for treasurer? Greg.
Paula and Chris have their hands up.
I do see that Paula and Chris have their hands up, but they're muted. Both of them are muted.
I'm sorry, I just took it down.
Okay, and Chris also took hers. You're still muted, but
Just
okay.
down, sorry.
Yes, and Greg, I guess I should say, are you willing to be treasurer again?
Well, I want to say that if anyone wants to do this, Paul King, I am more than willing to help anyone that's willing to do this, Paul King, if they're willing to be the treasurer and show people what to do and to share the knowledge of what needs to be done, Paul King. So that's my campaign speech.
But Greg, are you willing right this second to be treasurer?
If someone else volunteers to burn, then I will.
Thank you. And
graciously
I
volunteer.
before I'm not even closing the nominations quite yet. But if anyone would like to consider becoming treasurer, say halfway through, since we've heard what Greg said, he'd be happy to help and transfer. It would be great if you took the funding training first, because when we vote for a treasurer, it immediately means that person is treasurer, but they're not eligible to be a financial officer until they took the full training. Okay, are there any other nominations for treasurer? Or self-nominations? Or a motion to close the nominations?
I move to close the nomination.
Okay, may we do this vote by acclamation, please? Yes. All in favor, we're back to the, just raise your blue hand, raise your real hand, or raise your yellow hand. Greg, do you?
Wait a minute, let me
Do you
come back
want,
over here.
I mean, is it okay if you just,
Yeah, I'll just count hands.
okay,
One,
all those in
2,
favor
3,
by
4,
acclamation, just
5,
raise your
6,
hand.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Dolores, 16. You, 18. Got it.
Okay. The next one is secretary, and before you panic about that one, both Greg and I are totally willing to, we need to get last year's minutes in place, and somehow we are going to, but the new secretary will not be responsible for recreating the missing minutes just from this moment forward. So are there any okay, a lot of people still have their blue hands up. I don't know if this is retaining or nominations. So if you have a nomination for secretary, and John, your hand's up or not? Oh, and I'm sorry, and Gabby has also said she'll be assisting on the minutes going forward. So, okay, now there are hands up. Chris, and you're muted.
I would like to nominate Teresa, our new member from the Avenues, if she would accept.
Uh-oh, I see a laugh. Teresa, would you accept that nomination?
Wow, I was thinking a parliamentarian. Wow, the secretary job. Okay, yes, thank you very much, Chris, for nominating me. Certainly, I will try to do my best with that. Thank you.
It's all we ask of each other.
And Greg, you have your hand up.
I just want to say, if anyone takes on that job, I will give them the templates and work with them on keeping the minutes and take minutes with them in several other meetings just to make it easier. for them. So you won't be on your own having to figure things out.
Thank you, Greg.
You're welcome.
Are there any other nominations or self-nominations for secretary? I still see Greg and Chris's hands up, but I think you don't mean to be.
It's down. Yeah, I'm on another screen. So yes.
Thank you. Okay. Are there, is there a motion to close the nominations?
I so move.
Okay. May we vote by acclamation again, please? All in favor, raise your blue hand, your reaction hand, or your video hand.
17.
Thank you. And then last not least is signatory. Our current signatory is Hugo, and I think we understand that he's not running for an officer position. So are there any nominations for signatory?
Laura, I think we probably need to go over what that job is a little more.
Yes. So
So may
the
I?
signature, do you want to do that or should I?
Sure. Let me just add part, then you can add on to it, please. All right. So one of the things that is necessary is that I want to break it up into two things. One, the signatory is the one that once we do a BEC, once we do, like we said we want to do a funding, I will sign it and then I will send it to the signatory to sign it so that when I submit it to the city, they will know it's two of us authorizing this. And so we will have, I will sign it and then the first signer will sign it. And then we also have Laura as another signer for that. But we also, and this is the point where Laura, you could expand on it, but we also have the credit card.
Yes.
We combine the credit card, holding the credit card and using the credit card to two people, and the signatory is one of the person that has the credit card. I don't spend the money, I don't pay the bill. I would say, here's a bill, but then the signatory or the first card holder would be the one that will pay the bill. And we have two people that are authorized to hold the credit cards. And currently that is Hugo as the first signer or the first card holder, and then Laura, who's the second card holder. So really it's two jobs, but we kind of like combine it into one.
Right. And to amplify that, we have already voted and turned in our administrative packet where we separately voted Hugo as card holder number 1 and separately voted Laura as card holder number 2. The card that I hold, I mean, it's UNNC, it's not my card, but my card, the one I hold, is the one that is registered with all of our annual renewals or monthly renewals. So there's no gap in our business. The card that Hugo holds is, as he mentioned, is the one where he accompanies people to places where the credit card needs to be used, but we haven't been doing that. But that's part of the job, is to spend money, whether it be for food or anything else. But it's not the recurring credit card. I do not know, and Greg and I would have to ask if he can retain the credit card until a new person has taken funding training and could be voted by us in the admin package for the card. But this new signatory will have to take the full funding training. They cannot be a signer on our BACs without the funding training. So for the short term, unless Ms. Dorit wanted to be signatory, I don't think anyone else has taken full funding training. So Paula has her hand up, and Greg, you just keep your hand up. So I don't know if you have a new hand up, and Paula has her hand up.
I took it down, put it
or not.
I can't take it down. Okay, there
you go. Okay, so Greg, did you mean to keep your hand still up?
Yeah, I took it down and put it back up. I would think that once Hugo turns in his letter of resignation, all of his duties need
Correct.
to expire, including.
I think so
Give me the
too.
card, buddy.
I think whoever is to be elected signatory
Yes.
will be the third financial officer. So we'll also have to, after that person has taken the funding training, we'll also have to go back into the administrative packet and vote those two things. So ideally, the signatory would take the full funding training between now and August 5, so we don't have a big gap. And the last thing is the signatory, as Greg pointed out, is usually the second signature, and I am the alternative signer. But I'm not sure, but I do think, Greg, is this right? If the person has not attended the board meeting, they cannot sign saying, I witnessed it and I agree that's how we voted. So,
Yeah, they
so
need
the
to be-
signatory needs to come to board meetings.
Yes, yes.
When we are IRL in real life, the way it actually tends to work is we sit at a dais and the president calls the roll or the secretary, for a vote, and then hands the form. It's a physical piece of paper to his or her right to the treasurer, who signs it and who hands it to the signatory, who signs it and then scans it and sends it into the city. But in our digital life, it's become a little more complicated. Okay, Nancy.
Yes, I was just gonna say, can we move on to the nomination?
Yeah, so do we have
You all have an
nominations for
explanation in the background? Okay,
Yes, I'm
it's-
sorry. Do
it's
we
12
have
o'clock already.
nominations for signatory or self-nominations?
I will nominate Dorit since she's already took the training.
I will have, thank you, Greg, but coming to Tuesdays, the third Tuesday of the month is kind of difficult. I don't mind doing the responsibility, but I can't promise that I'll make it to every executive committee meeting. And that means you guys don't have the officers that you need at the executive committee meeting.
Gotcha, understood.
Okay. Dorit, let me ask you this. I heard that was a no.
It's a kind of, it's if
Yeah,
everyone could
no,
accept
but-
the fact that I can't make every meeting.
I understand. If there's somebody who wanted to do this job but hasn't yet been trained, what about if we separate that card holder position from the signatory? Would you be willing to be the first card holder if it's not an officer job? It's a financial officer job, but
So I have no problem showing up to Rite Aid or 99-cent store and paying for stuff with people. I have no problem doing that. I just can't promise to be at every executive committee meeting because of other commitments.
So let's see if there's anybody else who would like to be on the executive committee third Tuesday of each month, being an officer as signatory. Does anybody want to self-nominate?
With the understanding that that person will then take the training and be able to be the card holder down the line, right? Okay.
And it's the full, it would have to be the full training, not the ones most of you have taken. Anybody want to be signatory? Chris, are you speaking? Chris, you are muted.
I wanted to nominate Paul King if he would be willing to accept signatory.
I'd be willing to accept it.
Okay. All right. Are there any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none, let's close the nominations and let's vote by acclamation. And Nancy and Charlie both need to leave very shortly. So just as a heads up. So everybody who's voting by acclamation, raise your blue hand, your yellow reaction hand, or your real hand, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Dorita, I don't see your hand. 16. Oh, you switched on me. Let me do it. 1.
Okay. So, Paul, I'm not sure when the next full funding training is. So we'll, hook you up with Shauna. on that. And Greg will also need to check with Shauna if we can, even if temporarily, well, probably not. If we wanted to have Dorit be the cardholder, we wouldn't want to keep changing cardholders. So that's pain in the, you know what. Dorit, your hand is up.
My hand is up to vote.
Okay. All right. So thank you all. And Nancy, we're back to you, but I know you have to leave in 9 minutes, right?
Parliamentarian.
Parliamentarian.
I'm so sorry, parliamentarian. Does anybody would like to volunteer to be parliamentarian or nominate someone? Lizzie.
I would like to nominate Hugh Moore for parliamentarian.
Hugh Moore has been nominated. Hugh, do you take the take the challenge?
I don't think so. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Greg.
My apologies. Hand down.
Chris, your hand's still up as well.
It's up for a reason. I would like to nominate Raheem. His focus on efficiency, I think, brings a great energy to the idea of our parliamentarian. I think if he would accept that nomination.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it, but I respectfully decline. Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. Did your child just accept for you?
Okay, time.
So I think I would like to ask Nancy if this was a job she would like, since she's been so knee deep into all of this, bylaws, standing rules, Robert's rules.
Yeah, I just can't commit to go to the executive committee meeting.
Got it.
If it was just the governing board, that'd be fine, but I can't do both.
Okay. And is there anyone else who would want to do it at all?
I just would like to make a comment.
Yes, ma'am.
So Nancy is willing to
Right.
do it in the governing board meeting. So that I would be very grateful.
I would too. I was going to say exactly that. I just want to see if anybody else wanted to do both.
Because efficiency is really a challenge at the governing board meeting, if anything. So.
Right. And Chris, did you put your hand back up? And
I put it back up again. We talked about having 2 parliamentarians.
Right.
And if Nancy would be willing to be one of the I would like to serve with Nancy and help cover the executive boards, or whenever there's one meeting in October I will not be able to attend because I'll be out of the country, but otherwise I could make the executive and I will make the governing board. So if we talked about 2 parliamentarians, I'd love to partner with Nancy and gain from her deep dive into some of our rules and bylaws and support it.
Okay. So this is suddenly becoming a long conversation. In our proposed I know you're saying no. Proposed standing rules, we would have 2. Currently, we have 1. Okay. So what I'd like to do is see if we are good on accepting the nomination for Nancy. We all understand she's not going to do executive, and move forward with when we change the standing rules to have a second one. Would that work? So we can so we can have a parliamentarian?
That's what our bylaws
at the moment, it's
our bylaws. Yep.
Okay. There's no reason why we couldn't have someone behave as a parliamentarian and executive, even if they don't have the title. So, okay. So Nancy, on that basis, would you accept a nomination where we understand you're only committing to board meetings and as best you can?
Yes.
All right. Are there any other nominations? May we vote by acclamation, please?
Please.
So, yes.
Okay, and the hands go up. 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 16. Okay, I have the count. Nancy, I assume you voted for yourself.
Oh.
Yes, okay, good, thank you. Okay, good, that's done. Okay, we're done.
Okay.
Great, Laura, I'm gonna take
I know.
over on the
Okay.
last. Okay, so the last
What's the
item.
number?
17.
Okay, the last item on our agenda, meetings, we have about 20 minutes left. We wanted to give everyone an introduction on some of our active committees. So we asked the chairs of the various committees to join us and give a short summary on their mission, and then one achievement from the last year, or one exciting project that they're working on. So we have, I think, 6 committee chairs present: communications, outreach, environmental, planning and zoning, recreation and parks, and economic development. So that's 6. We have 20 minutes left. So I'll give all about 3 minutes, and then I'll wave my phone when those 3 minutes are up. Okay. So let me start with communications. Rahim or Gabby, I know you're both here. If you want to introduce yourselves, mission, and then one achievement or exciting project. So I'm going to start the clock.
Yes, hi, this is Gabby. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we recently established a mission and some goals from the UNNC Communications Committee. So our mission is to keep stakeholders informed, promote participation, and increase the visibility of UNNC and its resources through various communication channels. Some of our goals are to increase the number of residents and other stakeholders that participate in meetings and other outreach events, to increase the exposure of the UNNC throughout its footprint, and to engage board members in UNNC communications efforts. So we're actually working on a couple of initiatives, but one of the most exciting and I think most important ones are the branding project. Rahim and I and our graphics team have been knee deep in developing a brand that is reflective of all of our values and our communities. And we will be talking a little bit more about that in the next couple of months, weeks and months, with all of you, our new board members. And then we're also in the midst of revamping the way that we work in our social media. We recently launched our Instagram and are working with our graphics team as well to, I guess, reinvigorate our social media platforms. So those are a couple of things that we're working on. I'm really excited to be growing our team. Right now it's about, I think, 5 or 6, but we are always looking for volunteers and people that really want to engage our stakeholders through our communications. So that's it for me.
Great, thanks, Gabby. Short and sweet. Next is our outreach committee chair. So Lizzie, I'm gonna put 3 minutes on the clock and then I'll get you.
Yes.
You can go ahead and start.
Yes, I had a PowerPoint, but
do you want?
I'm just, I don't need it. I don't think I need. There's only 3 minutes, and yeah. So basically, as outreach, as you know, because of the pandemic, we had a whole bunch of restrictions. We could not hold in-person events or even organize them. We were not able to do outreach by canvassing. So we were just trying to figure out at the beginning of the pandemic, when we resumed committee meetings, we focused on creating or updating the mission statement. And actually, I'm sorry, but it's in the PowerPoint. So I was just gonna read it from there. May I please have it now?
Yeah.
Laura,
Oh, yeah. That's fine. I'm sorry.
I just need to read. Yeah,
do you want me to make you a co-host, or you want me to post it?
Just post it, please.
That's fine.
and then just go to where the mission statement is, so I can read it.
Right.
It was just approved in our last committee meeting.
So you mean
So-
where it says our vision? Am I in the
Yes,
right place?
Yeah, our vision. No, go up, please.
Got it.
For mission statement. Yes. So here's our current mission statement, just approved earlier this month. Our mission is to empower our stakeholders and the community at large by facilitating information and access to city services, issues, and events within the UNNC footprint, keeping them engaged and included, encouraging their involvement. The Outreach Committee shall support UNNC, its committees, and its stakeholders in their efforts to improve the quality of life in our community. And please, next, please. Our vision. So I'm just gonna read the last part. Lastly, identify stakeholders' needs and their diversity. And by these, we mean homeowners, renters, business owners, someone who works here or holds some type of interest in the community. We also include our neighbors, regardless of their immigration status, and the ones who are experiencing homelessness, the formerly incarcerated, religious and spiritual congregation members, students in our local schools, and their families. And I'm just gonna skip to what we consider our biggest accomplishment. That would be definitely when we switched hats and focused our attention on doing outreach for the UNNC elections this year, which doesn't happen every year. So this was another special year. So we created a dedicated page on our website in close collaboration with the communications team, the communications team as well. Next, please. Created all kinds of outreach materials for us, beautiful artwork. We had the cooperation, the help from many neighbors, from the little free libraries that were really extremely helpful to spread the word about our elections. And lastly, we had this campaign of actual neighbors doing going through their everyday life and displaying our lawn signs. So that was a really fun, creative way to actually create a buzz about the elections. We also presented at numerous virtual this year committee meetings, and also neighborhood association meetings, the West Adams Avenues, Western Heights. So we're grateful for the request to present there. And also our last outreach effort.
30 seconds left, Lizzie.
I'm sorry? Yes.
30 seconds left.
Sure.
Go ahead.
The Arlington Heights Neighborhood Association held their very first in-person community event. So we were able to attend, set up a table, and sign up more stakeholders to request their ballots so that they could vote. And so going forward, we are trying to establish a long-lasting partnership with Little Free Libraries and our local libraries now that they are open. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lizzie. Let's see. So next up was going to be Environmental Committee, but I don't see Lizzie or Dan, or Elizabeth or Dan.
Yeah, they're not here.
We're gonna go. They're not here, right? Okay, so I'll skip to Planning and Zoning. Again, 3 minutes. I mean, yes, 3 minutes. And then I'll give you a 30-second warning.
Yeah, but John, are you prepared to do that? Just give
I'm
an
not.
overview of us.
Boy, I'm not, but I can wing it.
Please do.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm John Arn, the co-chair of Planning and Zoning. So as you know, we have the most, and it's a very immediate committee because things get thrown at us from developers, from the city, crises. So it's a very in the moment committee. So every week Laura and I meet and to discuss the agenda, what needs to be on it, because we always have plenty of things to be on the agenda. And those range from developer proposals, had a lot of activity this past year on Crenshaw with some commercial development and down Expo. And so we've had several meetings on that. We've had crises in the neighborhoods. We've had a number of fires, which we believe is an outcome of increased homelessness and people living in vacant buildings. And so we are always attacking those and what we can do to both prevent fires and also make sure that there are nuisances caused in the neighborhood that cause for historic buildings to be torn down and to make way for development. We work with developers with designs. There's also a lot of activity with multifamily housing, and some developers have the community's interests in mind. Some of them don't, and we always are looking out for developments that are taking advantage of the neighborhood, working with them to make the designs better. We've had a number of projects up in Angeles Vista in Arlington Heights this past year that we've been working with developers to make sure that they are better. And when they aren't, we call them out and then we bring it to the board to write letters of support or non-support for developments that we don't think fit into the neighborhood. I think our committee I've been as an architect, I spend a lot of time on neighborhood council, planning and zoning committees. And I'm really proud of our planning and zoning committee because we are even-handed. We do accept development. We just don't accept any development. And we are really balanced and we're thoughtful and we listen to each other. And I really respect everything that happens in planning and zoning committee. And Laura, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, because we're so busy, we actually meet twice a month on the first and third Wednesday. And we have been doing that since about 6 months from the establishment of the neighborhood council itself. So occasionally we will not hold a meeting. And the other thing that you didn't mention, John, is there's a lot of citywide planning initiatives, and we also pick and choose the ones that we're involved with. But right now we're going to be deeply involved for the next month and a half with the housing element, because that's really, really, really important for how the city does housing for the next 8 years.
Yeah, so we pay attention to what's going on in the city, as Laura said, the housing elements, zoning changes, specific plans, implementation processes, fee. We had a long discussion this year about fees in the city that we sent a letter of non-support or quasi-support, I think, for what they were doing. So yeah, we're an active committee. Please join us. We always have 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 people in attendance, and it's always a good time.
Thank you, John. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next committee. I know we're almost out of time here. So Dorit, Recreation and Parks.
Hey there, everybody. So the former board allowed us to restart the Rec and Parks Committee. We started back in September of last year, and in that short period of time, we've actually got a lot accomplished. We redid the mission statement and our goals. Most of our meetings, we've been very lucky. I mean, it took a while to get off the ground, but most of our meetings have at least 10 people at them, 6 to 10 people at them. We have been able to get Rec and Park, LA City Rec and Park leadership to come to our meetings, both local leadership and leadership above them. So that's been really, really, really nice. One accomplishment I'm really happy that we did is to bring, as we know, we have 2 great parks in our community. One is a rec center, which is the Benny Carter Rec Center, which has our 2 historical homes. That's always been a focus of this committee and of this community, but we've been able to get some focus put on the Shaw Park, which is on Jefferson Boulevard, which wasn't getting as much attention from the committee as it should. Now it is getting attention, and that's really great. So that is one thing I'm extremely happy that committee was able to do. Like I say, it's a very active committee with lots of support from the city Rec and Parks folks. I will not be running as co-chair or chair for this committee again because my computer skills suck. So if anyone really wants to take that over, I strongly recommend anyone to just jump in. I'll be able to give you a roster of names and a history of everything we've done. Thank you.
Thanks, Dorit. Next up, Hugh, I know I didn't email you, but I just learned that you're co-chair of the homelessness committee. Do you want to do a short speech on the mission of the homelessness committee and then one accomplishment?
Really weak on accomplishments this year because the COVID crisis has prevented much efforts being done. For instance, the committee usually works with the Los Angeles count, and the homeless count didn't happen this year at all because of COVID, which has resulted in a citywide, countywide claim of reduced homelessness when it probably has increased significantly. The committee itself is continuing to attempt to support individuals that are homeless, and a couple events that were done in the past year, showers for homeless, but really limited on our ability, things that we can do because of the COVID crisis. The meetings have been informational. We had the controller come speak to us once. Dorit spoke to us once about her efforts with her homelessness committee that's outside of neighborhood council. And certainly the committee will continue to make efforts in the future, but really limited on what we're able to do right now. Oh, one last thing, Mark Ridley Thomas has placed a motion on the calendar for the city council, which is that it hasn't gotten to city council yet, which is requiring or hoping to require a study to make housing a right. We will continue to follow that and give the board more information on how we can support that as that moves through the city bureaucracy.
Nancy, if I may, the homelessness liaison committee has also had a whole series of really good presentations and speakers, as have the other committees. But when they're not able to do the one thing, they're really helping educate our stakeholders because they've had a great series of presentations.
Okay, last but not least is the Economic Development Committee. Chris, are you able to present, or Hugo?
Yeah, we can both speak.
Yeah, okay. You want to start, Hugo?
Sure. So I'm Hugo. Me and Chris Carlson are co-chairs. And we've had 2 meetings. And I really liked the last meeting that we had. We got in contact with different businesses in the area. I went walking and spoke with a lot of them, kind of telling them about neighborhood councils and how they work, and then also about budget advocates, and then also was asking them what kind of things these businesses wanted. And so I learned a lot from that. And when we had the meeting, we had a speaker from the BID, a Byzantine Latino Quarter, and then we also had a speaker about the public bank proposal of Los Angeles. And so I want to make sure to keep having meetings like that where we have involvement from different people in the city, but I want the focus to be mostly on the businesses in the area to know what they want from us, rather than from what city departments or other organizations want from them.
Much like the Park and Recs, the Business Economic Development was a sort of a restarted committee that had not been really actively staffed. And Hugo and I both felt it was really important, particularly in the outcome of COVID, the huge impacts that have happened to our business community, and also maybe an elevated awareness on the public at large of the critical, not just services, but but aspects to our lives that our businesses, both brick and mortar and service businesses, add to our community, to its strength, and to all of our lives. So one of the things that we identified going forward, we wanted to try to do is really develop, in the wake of COVID, a directory, an inventory of all of the businesses that have footprints within our area, and to see how we can better showcase those businesses so that people who live in UNNC or near UNNC have a full knowledge of what services and resources are available to them. So that's going forward. And Hugo started that process with walking and talking to businesses, and we're going to try to continue in that effort. And we'd love lots and lots of eager people to help in that, and maybe even make referrals and recommendations of businesses that they patronize and want to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. So this is just a snippet of some of our committees, our active committees. You can find a more fulsome list on our website, UNNC. You click committees. You can also find a list in the Standing Rules 2015. We're not going to have time to do Q&A, so if you have questions about the committees, please reach out to the co-chairs and express your interest or any queries you have about what the work that they do. I am just going to leave with some parting words. Thank you so much. I'll let Rahim and Paula also speak. Thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday and spending 3.5 hours of your day with us. We're really excited to start the new year fresh, and we look forward to working with you all. Rahim, Paula.
Yeah, I just want to say, Nancy, thanks to you. You did so much work for this. It really showed. I think it was a really great time for us to get to know each other and to get to know the inner workings of the board. And it's really because of a lot of the hard work that you did. So thank you so much. And Paula as well. I think both you guys did more for this than I did. So thank you guys for all the heavy lifting.
I just also want to say thank you to everyone, Nancy, again, and especially, as Rahim said, for the work she did. And Rahim, I'm sorry you did not become an executive, because you are a phenomenal person, and I just really you in there. Hey, you will. And just thank you, everyone. New members, I hope this was helpful. This has been the retreats I attended, very informative. And thank you, everyone, for attending and giving us your time.
Great, thank you. All right, everyone. Well, Laura, I don't know if you need to adjourn the meeting, but everyone have a very nice rest of your weekend. Thank you.
Great job running the meeting, Nancy.
Thanks, Dory.
Great job, Nancy.
Thank you, committee. Thank you, Nancy, Rahim, Paula.
I was muted. I won't end. Don't forget to save the chat, you guys, if you want the information in the chat. 3 little dots in the chat. Click on that, hit save chat. And or email me if you missed it, and I will send you the chat.
And congratulations, new officers. Welcome, new board members.
And
See
I
you soon.
Yeah, and thank you to Nancy, Rahim, and Paula, but I think they've all already. Oh, Paula's still here. Everybody was very eager to leave. That's all I can say. Just really
all right.
eager to leave.
Take care, everyone. Love you.
Yes.
Bye.
And I'll email the everybody's gone. The new executive committee.
Laura.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not gone yet.
How did you say to save something in the chat?
Okay, so click on the black dot. I mean, on the black screen, click on chat. Once you get to chat, there's a little like balloon. It has 3 little dots in it. So at where it says to, it might say to host, to, do you see where you can address somebody? Wait, I don't know how to show you this on the screen. So if you're in the chat, it's a balloon with 3 dots. And if you can't see that, what I will do is save the chat, send you the chat, and I will take a screenshot of this. And
I see.
you do see it. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. So a lot of the Zoom meetings we end up invited to with the city, they've disabled that function. Even if they have chat or QA, they don't allow people to save it. But we do.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you so much. And Delora, here, wait.